So, welcome to episode 3 of Bikes, Beers and Banter. And I'm joined today by my guest, Abhi Khullar. Have I pronounced that Khullar properly,
Perfectly.
Abhi?
Yeah, that's absolutely perfect.
Damn, I'm good. I'm good. So, welcome, Abhi. You and I have known each other for a relatively short space of time, I think. But in that time, we've met and we've had a lot of communication with each other, and I follow your YouTube channel as well. So you know, I feel like I know you a little bit better than I would for the relatively short space of time
Yeah.
that we've known
And
each other.
and likewise, I feel the same.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, there's so many questions that I've got for you today, Abhi. I guess maybe just giving us a summary of your background. You're
Yeah.
a YouTuber,
Yep.
and you're a track rider as well, amateur
Yeah.
track rider.
Yeah.
Um, tell us about your YouTube channel.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm not a typical YouTuber who tells everyone I'm going to upload on a Monday, on a Wednesday, on a Sunday, or something like that. I just upload when I want to. But it's for me, it's more about the quality of the content than just relentlessly pushing
Yeah,
stuff out to people.
yeah,
Which I think people get bored of that after a while. So yeah, in terms of the actual YouTube channel, I started in 2019 March. It was just a diary system of me doing track days, and then I thought to myself, you know what, I'm doing all these track days, and I keep deleting stuff from my memory cards. So
yeah,
why don't I have a kind of a free iCloud system, which is YouTube? YouTube, in a way, is like it's like your
yeah,
cloud
yeah.
of everything you've done. So when I get old, I've got something to watch. So that's the main reason I started YouTube. But it kind of the content started progressing and people started liking it. Because it's a bit my content is a bit old school. It's a bit less cuts, so I'm not in your face straight away. Keep cutting. There's a cut here, cut there, cut there. I can carry on a scene for 5 minutes without having a cut. And
Okay,
I think I've had this comment from a lot of people. They kind of it brings in like a soothing viewing, very kind of
okay, okay.
easy viewing. So a lot of people say that to me. So I think that's one thing which
Is it
really
because
got picked up.
that's contrary to conventional wisdom, if you like. Everyone's looking for short, snappy content,
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
the attention span, I think, is well. People say that that viewers have got a short attention span. I'm not convinced by that. I think that good content, engaging content, you can get away with longer form content, if you like.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. There's always room for longer form content. I think I will be starting a few shorter form contents, but they will still be very mellow, not like bang, 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 fonts, pictures, this, like within 60 seconds, you're just overloaded
Yeah.
with stuff. And I think the younger generation really likes that stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think I will still have a good flow to the shorter form content because I think it's moving that way. I'm not a big fan of TikTok and stuff because I think it depleted people's attention span, but it is what it is. That's the way the world is rolling at the moment.
It's true. Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, I would promote the shorts that I create. I create promotional shorts on YouTube for these podcasts. I mean, this is only the
Yeah.
third one, of course, but I've noticed that
Yeah.
the previous one I did with Rich Gibson,
Yeah.
Rich as well, of course.
Yeah. Great chap.
Lovely
Does
guy.
a lot for
Yeah, great
mental
guy.
health.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Does a lot for mental health. Is a fantastic chap. I met him at the 8 hours endurance race at Alton Park. And just a lovely chap. I actually gave him a hug. Never even knew him from before. Just gave him a hug because he's such a great guy. He's just a lovely chap.
He would have enjoyed that as well, Avi. I mean, he's a just a great lad.
Yeah,
I really enjoy being in his company, and I
yeah,
think that's a good barometer, isn't it? So
exactly,
yeah,
exactly. By the way,
um,
you didn't ask me the question you asked him when you started his vlog, if you've got a beer. I actually have you? Oh, not bad. I actually thought, you know what? Scottish interviewer or podcaster.
Yeah.
I'll have a proper single malt Scottish. I don't know what's it called. Tullibardine,
Oh,
Tullibardine or something.
okay.
I thought I'll get a special whiskey for this. Joe
That's
Rogan style.
that's
No
that,
cigar, no
that's
cigar, but Scottish whiskey here.
actually I've got I've got the cigars.
Ah, there you go.
I've got a couple of uh, Cuban cigars there that
Lovely.
I bought a few weeks ago, but well, I don't smoke them in the house, and I probably only ever have maybe 2 cigars a year.
Yeah.
But I've just had quite a bad well, I've had terrible man flu. I
Oh,
mean, just the worst man flu ever.
goodness me.
Yeah,
You recovered?
it was touch and go, Abby. I have to say it was real touch and go, and then it went into my chest. So I'm not going to be smoking cigars in any hurry at the moment.
Oh,
But yeah. So yeah,
yes.
you're on the whiskey. I'm ashamed
Yeah.
because you've actually done one up on me.
And the hat you were wearing in the last podcast, I
Mm.
thought I'm going to get myself one of those hats as well. I was expecting you to wearing. I
Oh,
was expecting you're going to wear one today,
I was
but it's
going.
all right.
I would have actually, but my middle daughter's gone and stolen it. So I don't know where it's gone. I do remember saying to her,
Here we are.
"Ah, that's very dapper."
I used to wear this in
Geez,
the
you
university.
look like an Asian George Clooney.
Well, I can take that as a compliment. So yeah, I love this kind of hat. I saw you wearing this in the last podcast, so I thought, you know what, I'm gonna probably. I was worried that this is gonna cast shadow on my face because of my big YouTube light here. So yeah, but it's all right.
Looks very dapper. So yeah, so
Uh,
I'm on the Brew Dogs. I think it would be a very very short podcast if I started drinking whiskey because I I guess that's maybe my Achilles heel.
well,
A good dram.
with me, it's the opposite. If I start drinking whiskey, which I am, it's going to
Yeah.
be a long podcast.
Brilliant. So,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah, your YouTube channel. I mean, what I know that you set that up to, just document your track activity on the
yeah.
bike, which is fair enough. But it sounds like it's gone and growing into something else. Would it be fair to say that?
Absolutely, because I think as I was doing this, it was never about me, me, me.
Yeah.
Look at my performance, look at my lap times, look at my bike, look at my upgrades, look at my suit, look at my amazing helmets, look at everything. It was never, I think that's probably in my personality. I just try to make the vlogs about the track, the ambience, the
Mm,
camaraderie, people, the actual kind of place around the track where you can stay,
yeah.
and it's for anyone who's never done a track, and also people who've done track this before and now they miss it, so they've got something to see. So I include drone footage, I include some real quality footage. Love doing intros with great music, and I will match the music to the kind of track, or kind of like I did a Mallory Park documentary. Mallory Park is one of those amazingly beautiful forgotten circuits because it's
Mm,
not on the BSB calendar anymore.
yeah.
Just like Croft, for example.
Yeah.
And I really did a nearly an hour documentary on it, and I featured old races, old races, some British Superstock races of the past. I think I had Billy McConnell, Levi Day, Bob Collins, a few people in that documentary, and I threw in some really nice music with some really good drone footage as well. So
Mm,
it's become more of a appreciation kind of vlogs,
mm,
appreciating everything,
yeah.
British tracks, the kind of how much we relish going on tracks. Every 50 to 100 miles, there's a track here.
Mm,
I mean, especially for me in the Midlands, Black Country, I've
yeah.
got just like Rich. I think Rich lives not far from me, and
Stoke.
Staffordshire, I think. So I don't know that. I think
Oh,
it's
Stafford. Yeah.
Staffordshire, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, so it's become a showcasing of everything and anything.
Mm.
Recently, since I started racing, I'm focusing more on performance and lap times, but I still try not to include a lot of lap time stuff on track day, especially while I'm there, because it's kind of frowned upon. Because technically, you shouldn't have a lap timer on your bike, and I tape mine, or mine is never working, to be honest, because I actually found out my GPS sensor was on the tail of my bike,
Yeah.
and at that same position, I put a 360-degree camera to record the overtaking.
Okay.
That camera prevented my GPS to get signal. And I was
Oh,
thinking, goodness me, I've spent £1,500 on this amazing I2M dash,
yeah.
and it doesn't work properly.
Yeah.
And no, I just found out it was that.
Why is it frowned upon to have a timer?
I think it gets first of all, I think it's in the rules. You're not allowed straight away. And number two, I think I say frowned upon is if as a YouTuber, you make one mistake, like you crash into someone, you get highlighted everywhere. And
Yeah.
if you start blowing your own trumpet on lap time's sake, and I'm not a super fast guy, it kind of just, oh, the guy only talks about lap times, nothing else. So
Yeah.
I try to make it about everything and performance
Mm.
as well
Mm.
these days.
Yeah. No, I've seen a couple of your videos, and
Yeah,
they're informative as well as
thank you.
as well as everything else around them. And
Yeah,
I would say that you put in an extraordinary amount of work and effort to
yeah.
on the post production side as well.
Yeah,
Um,
and going back to the attention span again, because people switch off from videos so easily, I try to include, I don't know, really high quality B-roll footage and photos of, what I'm talking about while I'm talking.
mm,
Um, Otherwise, people really switch off. So I try to really, search. I mean, I'll give you an example. I'm working on part three of Cadwell Park, Aprilia event. And just to search for the intro music yesterday after work, I spent 3 hours
I
just to
know.
search for 50-second
Yeah,
intro music because I just want to match every scene to music and stuff like that. So post
yeah,
production for me takes a very long time, but
yeah,
I enjoy it a lot.
yeah.
That is where you can make or break a video.
Absolutely. And I find as well that when I'm doing any post production that each time I work on a new video, I find that I've got my skill set just increases and increases my my competency, if you like, in
Yeah,
terms of post production. Um, and of course, when you look at how other people have produced their videos as well, yet their YouTube videos, you can get some influences from that as well, and then off you go to
absolutely.
try and find out how to do that one particular thing, and
Yeah,
that could
I'm
just take
constantly
forever.
learning. Yeah, absolutely right. And I'm constantly learning. Like this was last month, I learned the Rembrandt effect, like Rembrandt, how Rembrandt used to paint his pictures,
Yeah,
where you had a, a good amount of light this side, but less amount of light, or on this time, you see a bit of yellow here
yeah,
and a bit of white here.
yeah,
So it gives it depth and stuff. So I'm learning constantly to how to create that quality in the video. I don't know if the laptop webcam picks it, but I'm always trying to, evolve.
yeah,
And little tiny little things like, there are lights behind me, two
yeah, yeah,
lights
yeah.
who are focusing the two helmets in the back.
Yeah.
And because they are at the back, they give me that aura
Little
which
backlighting.
separates me from the background, like stuff
Yeah,
like that. I never knew,
yeah,
and
mm,
I'm not a cameraman. I learned everything from YouTube, so just these little things honestly have helped me so much to
yeah,
really understand.
mm,
And that's a new skill, a skill I never had before,
yeah,
and I think you get to a certain age when you either go into a midlife crisis or you want to learn something new.
mm,
And YouTube has allowed me to learn a lot of skills which I never had before.
yeah, yeah. And I think it's great. I mean, I did photography for quite a number of years. Still photography, landscapes. You know, spoiled for choice up here, to be honest. But then I joined a camera club, a local camera club, just so that I could enter my images and get judged on those images. And part of that camera club, sometimes they would have a, a portrait photographer to come in, and we would spend up some time upstairs in the studio, and he would talk to us about studio lighting as well. And
Hmm.
so then I started to book out the studio and get the kids in and get some really good portraiture photographs of them, and learning the different technicalities of lighting a subject, And it is just super, super technical. It
It
really
is.
is. And I just don't think that I could ever be a good portrait photographer.
Yeah.
Um, it's it's just it's like
Yeah.
it's a difference between a bricklayer and a plumber, really. One
Exactly.
can't do the other one's job.
Well, I
So
realize lighting is like 60%. Camera settings are like what, 20%.
mm,
And honestly, skill comes later. You
yeah.
know, as long as you can. These days, people are taking amazing photos from their mobile phones.
Oh, completely.
You know, just because they got the lighting right,
Yeah.
they've got the settings right, and they've done a little bit of post production. And that could be what do you call them? Different modes, which I
Filters.
forgot. Filters. That could be
Yeah.
even filters, and
Yeah.
that can create an unbelievable photo.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was with some friends a couple of weekends ago up north, and we were at one of the little seaside villages. We'd gone in, had some lunch, came out, and my mate's wife is holding up her Samsung phone, latest Samsung phone, right? And this phone is actually showing her where the best composition is, and then
Wow.
it does everything in HDR, high dynamic range, so that the sky is, so you see, basically the camera takes a picture of essentially what you're seeing as well. So
Yeah.
good.
Artificial intelligence at its best.
That's exactly what it is, isn't it? AI
Yeah.
at its best,
Yeah.
yeah. Just in the hands of Joe
Yeah.
Public.
Joe. Yeah. Joe blogs.
Um,
Yeah. Absolutely.
so yeah, that's your YouTube. That's your YouTube
That's how it started. Yeah.
gig.
And
Yeah.
that's how it. Yeah.
Well, ultimately, what do you want to achieve from your YouTube channel?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, honestly, I never had I've got a day job, I work in a bank, so I never thought this will pay the bills, and it doesn't pay the bills. Let me tell you, it hasn't even paid me in 3 years for the amount of kit I've got. That light, my camera stand, camera bag,
Hmm,
and a few other things.
yeah,
So it's the money is not that much, and I'm not that greedy as well. Like I think you will see. In 3.5 years or 3 years, I don't know how long I've been on it. I've done about 128 videos, out of which 20 odd are one lap videos, which is just, so I've probably done one less than one video a month, So
right.
I'm not, and I don't bombard people with advertisements as well.
Hmm,
So money was never
hmm,
uh the start, but now suddenly this whole thing. In 2019, you would think 2019 isn't that far away, but there was hardly anyone just like doing tracks. I was the only one doing tracks. I think even now there's not much. But what I'm trying to say is that the whole trend of followers, how many followers you've got, followers has
subs.
just exploded.
Yeah,
Subscribers or followers,
yeah,
Instagram and TikTok and just exploded recently. It's
hmm,
just gone absolutely mad. So how do you kind of, you know, differentiate from other people? So I think what I wanted to do was have a YouTube channel where my track day expense kind of gets covered.
yeah,
And the truth is, it doesn't get covered at all.
hmm, hmm,
You know, but that's partly my fault because I don't release that often. I don't put too many advertisements in the video.
hmm,
In a 30-minute video, I will put two advertisements,
hmm,
where other people might put four or five or six.
yeah,
And but main thing is shorter content gets you more views because people are more likely to click on shorter stuff.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I don't do. I'm not a traditionalist YouTuber, which YouTube doesn't like me because I don't do things YouTube want me to do.
Yeah.
Because they want to make money at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
they want to take their cut out from giving whatever they give you from pennies from these advertisements, honestly.
So
So yeah,
here's a question for you then.
yeah.
When you're creating content, you're on the track, you're creating content. Does that not detract from your ability to enjoy being on the track if you're thinking about creating content whilst you're on the track?
My content is completely unscripted. Never ever I've even sat down and thought, I'm going to go to the track, I'm going to go to the sign in, I'm going to go to the noise testing, I'm going to go there. Never. I just go there and see what's what, and just spontaneously I can talk.
Mm-hmm.
I've got this gift of just talking. So I can just, record stuff willy-nilly,
Yeah.
whatever I see. And honestly speaking, in terms of enjoyment, I have this on and off mode. I could be this really softy, emotional guy on the video, but then, I mean, since my recent crashes, I'm a bit docile, but I could, once the visor is down, you just forget everything, and you just, you know, I've been recording my onboard footage for the last 3 years. Never once I've looked at my GoPro to see if it's recording, if that red light is beeping.
Okay.
Never. Once I'm on
Yeah.
the bike, I just
Yeah.
forget,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
so it does sometimes. I would like to. Recently, I did one track day one of Aprilia, day two. Day one, I did not record anything on the track. I just wanted to, enjoy.
Yeah.
But I found out that even with a camera or without a camera,
No
I can
difference.
enjoy.
No
I can, yeah,
difference.
no difference. I
You
can
see,
still enjoy.
I think that so when I go, I don't do any track stuff. Okay, I've been on the track. I've been on the track at Knockhill once, and that was 19 Oatcake on a 748 Ducati that I had. Um, but I the tracks are just so far away from me. So
Yeah,
in the summer months, I'm out on the west coast of Scotland.
yeah,
I know some really really fantastic roads that are rarely um, rarely trodden by masses of tourists. So to all intents purposes, that is my track.
yeah.
Um,
No, fair enough. And to be honest, you probably don't have that many busy roads. To like my country road route to Wales from Wolverhampton to Wales,
yeah,
cross gates, or I don't know, I've forgotten the names, Lake Bala or something. It'll be full of cars.
yeah,
And
yeah.
just you have to leave at 6 in the morning or 5:30 in the morning to get some.
So
Uh,
I don't have that. I don't have
exactly.
that. And
Yeah.
and I can. But the thing is, when I put it on, so if I just take the bike into town, I'll probably just put on a pair of Kevlar jeans, my just a sort of classic uh, motorcycle jacket, helmet, gloves, boots, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just going into town.
Yeah.
It's transactional, you know. As soon as I get my one piece leathers on, I'm just I turn into someone
Yeah.
completely different.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, you've got a really fast Ducati. Is it 1199 S?
Yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
If it's a streamlined, lovely, super fast super bike,
yeah,
and full leathers on that, you can't. I can't. When I had the Aprilia on road, I was just a different person, and that's why I started track days and then completely stopped road riding because
yeah,
you do silly things sometimes on the roads which you think, you know what, and honestly it's the best decision ever. Yeah,
yeah.
I will go back to roads next year because I bought some old school bikes, but honestly, going
I
to tracks, I've had crashes where the ambulance has been with me or the paramedics within 20, 30 seconds. Marshals are good as gold.
Yeah, yeah.
So
So that was one of my questions as well. Of course, Abby. Um, you don't. From a previous conversation that you and I had, I was quite surprised to learn that you don't actually ride much on the road, if at all, nowadays.
no,
That,
no, it's just because I I, I just go too fast.
oh,
I just the sense of yeah, I just think I just have that's why I thought, you know what, let's start with some retro bikes with no ABS, no traction control.
yeah,
You have to blip the throttle yourself,
yeah,
and just
oh,
and by appreciating classics, so if you crash, the
yeah,
parts are going to be hard to get.
yeah,
So that's kind of now I've got, and it's kind of calmed me down. But I think now, once you go on the track so much, and once you've done a bit of racing, you tend to calm down on the roads anyways, because you've done a lot of that, and you can do all that
yeah,
um, anytime you want.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
uh,
I,
so
I, I, I generally just go out on my own as well.
yeah,
So that I don't have anyone behind me trying to match my pace,
yeah,
and I'm not trying to match anybody else's pace. I just go at my own
yeah.
pace and do my own thing. And
I find that really tough. I can't ride on my own.
can you
I just
not?
need. No, I'm like, I go on. Where am I going to go now on my own? What am I going to do on my
Oh,
own?
you don't need. You're overthinking it already, Abby. I mean,
I think I do. That's
yeah,
why I kind of like I need someone. And if my friends are watching, they'll probably know I was always, like right behind the main navigator, and we had 4 or 5 bikes, and
yeah,
and he was on a Hayabusa, a good friend Ranbir, and I was always behind him, and that Hayabusa with the big
yeah,
rear tire used to chuck stones at me,
yeah,
all
yeah.
the time. My road helmet is full of chips because of that,
Pebbled.
and then I did 1 or 2 rides on my own, and I just thought, what am I going to do when I reach to that place? Just so I just no. And then I
Every,
did a bit of classic bike riding with the Distinguished Gentleman ride,
oh yeah,
and I
yeah,
ride with some fantastic
yeah,
chaps, I should say. We are part of the Distinguished Gentleman Ride group.
yeah.
And I had an old Honda CX500 plastic maggots, they were called in the UK. I had a proper custom one, and that was a not very fast bike, but I would still try to, you know, lean quite a bit on that. And that kind of slow
CX
riding made
on
me enjoy riding a lot more.
yeah, I think that's my problem actually is that the Ducati is just too much of a hooligan, and
Yeah,
it does not like to be ridden slow.
yeah,
It just does not reward you at all if
yeah.
you're just bumbling along on it. It
I agree.
overheats because it needs to have that constant
Air.
ram of air coming in, which you can only get at just a little bit over 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Um, so your Aprilia, you've got an RSV4
Or
factory.
Yeah, RSV4 Factory 2015.
Wow,
And I like your background quite a bit, because not only you've got a Ducati and you've got a Ducati, and I like the Moto Guzzi
the good see.
because Aprilia is owned by Piaggio, and Piaggio also own Moto Guzzi.
Okay,
So I quite like that. So
yeah,
yeah, I've got a 2015 factory RSV4 RF. No, it's not. I think it's called an RSV4 RF. It's not really. I think they got rid of the factory name
right,
in 2015, 2016. And I
yeah,
think they made 500 of them, limited edition. And I've got one of them. And honestly, there's not much limited edition about it. It was just a great marketing kind of plow, and it did well for them, I think.
mm,
And yeah, everyone asks me, why don't you upgrade to a 2021, 2020, 2022 bike or something? And one thing I've realized from racing and taking part in track days, fast groups all the time, is it's just not about the horsepower. You could have a 210, 220. I think my bike is 178 proper horsepower from the back wheel,
mm,
but you could have a 210 horsepower bike. As long as you don't have the skill, the skill is everything.
yeah,
I've got carbon wheels. I've got all sorts of upgrades on that bike,
mm,
but and it takes you a while to realize this sometimes, and racing, endurance racing has made me realize, especially with racing with British superstock riders, British superbike riders, even at
Mm.
Silverstone we had, some championship winners, Isle of Man races, Michael Rutter. We had, I mean, the list is so long. And when these guys overtake you, or when even club racers overtake you, someone like Rich Gibson,
Rich. Yeah.
I think at Cadwell Park, he's 6 to 7 seconds quicker than me, and he must be 40 kilos heavier than me. I'm
Yeah, he's a big lad.
72 kilos.
He's a
I'm
big lad.
72 kilos. Yeah. So if you think about that, it's skill, I
Yeah.
think, is
Yeah.
everything. So I keep my 2015 bike. It's got manageable power, 178 horsepower, which is more than enough to really show what you're capable of. And
I saw it's funny you should say that. I saw a video, I watched the video, can't remember, I think it might have been on YouTube. And there's a lad in an SV 650
mm,
going around Brands Hatch,
yeah,
humbling all the bigger bikes. I mean,
absolutely.
the big bikes came flying past him on the straight, but
Yeah,
they were hard on the anchors going into some of those corners, and he just kept on going.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I once did a triple header, which was two Portugal, Portimao, Algarve track days with a Jerez. Within a month, I did €3. Honestly, it nearly bankrupted me. It was costing that much
I
money.
bet.
I know. Yeah, it's a long story. I went to Portimao. It rained for 3.5 days out of 4. Imagine you go to an amazing
Yeah,
place in
yeah,
Portugal,
yeah,
away from the rain, and all you get is rain.
yeah.
So 3.5 days of rain, and then my bike had a bit of an issue. It would I would have no power for half a second to a second between certain revs. So a chap there who was it was Red Line Track Days, and I think there was a chap with Red Line Track Days who lived in Portugal. He goes, "Leave the bike with me. I know an Aprilia specialist. I will take your bike to him. We'll get it sorted. Red Line Track Days are coming again in 2 weeks' time. Why don't you come back with them?" I said, "Okay." So I left my bike with someone absolutely unknown, an unknown mechanic, all my kit, everything, and came back 2 weeks later. Bike had still had the same problem, but it was manageable. I could manage it, but it was fine. Then Redline was going to Jerez. Someone had a huge crash at Portimao, and they said, "Why don't you buy mine for half price?" And I'm like, "When is it?" He goes, "Next week." I'm like, "So I'm coming back to Spain next week?" So he goes, "Yeah." So I did two Portimaos and a Jerez um, in a month. But honestly, that made me from I don't know, a boy to a man.
Oh yeah,
€3. Track time,
yeah,
tires, and
yeah,
good suspension
yeah,
is everything.
yeah.
If we were talking about that guy, the SV650 guy. So
Mm.
the reason I mentioned this, we had a Moto3 13, 14-year-old rider with rings around us, 10 seconds quicker than us.
Whoa,
Abs-
they're two
Mhm.
fifties, aren't they?
I think he had an older one. It wasn't a two-stroke. It had the two exhaust pipes sticking from the back. I think he had an old Mahindra, which is the old Indian company. I think they had a Moto 3 bike, if I'm not wrong,
Yeah,
with a bit of a KTM involvement. I might be wrong there, but anyways. But yeah, this kid was just, and even now with endurance racing, we see, you know, or the CB500s and the SV650s. Talent is everything. Forget about
yeah.
unsprung mass. Forget about all
Hmm.
those videos I make
Hmm.
about how good are Z04 pads compared to SBS pads,
Yeah,
Metzeler TDs versus
yeah,
SC1 Pirellis. Forget everything. Talent,
yeah,
honestly, track time, tires, brakes, and suspension.
yeah,
That's it. These
yeah,
four things,
yeah.
and coaching. We go on a track day presuming and believing we kind of know everything, you know, but unfortunately we don't. We
Oh,
and we get into bad habits which we
mhm,
never get rid of, and those bad
mhm.
habits kind of multiply into worse things. So I think as soon as we should go on the track, we should start with coaching.
I would agree, but I mean, I think that same principle stands for everything in life.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter whether it's photography or whether
yeah,
it's road riding that you're doing or track riding that you're doing.
yeah.
I've got almost an insatiable appetite to continue to improve for self-improvement when I'm on
Yeah,
a motorcycle. So, pardon me, I, I some occasionally I'll go out with ex-traffic cops on their bikes, and just and you're always picking up something,
yeah,
and so, yeah, I think invest in yourself is
absolutely.
always the right thing, isn't it?
I think the problem human brain has is, but once we start to learn how to ride a bicycle, we then it's a concertina effect. I can ride a bicycle. I can ride a 125cc bike.
It's
I
an
can ride a
entry. It's an
yeah,
entry drug,
yeah, exactly. I can ride a 125cc,
a gateway.
125cc. I can ride a 250cc. I can ride a 600. I'm pretty decent at a 600. I should be all right on 1,000. I'm
Yeah.
pretty good around around town in my 1,000. I should be great on the track. I'm great on the track. I should be racing. I think, and all that happens sometimes without a single day of coaching, or someone might take a session or two of coaching at a at a track day. I mean, someone like No Limits offer free coaching,
Oh, did it?
on track days. Yeah, yeah, you can. I mean, not a full days of coaching, but if you want a session or two or three, you want someone to go out with you, it's free coaching. So,
Oh,
yeah,
wow. I
so
didn't know that.
everyone presumes that they are going to be fine until you hit the wall, until you have a crash, and then you reverse back and you think, you know what? And I've had that lately. I've
Mm.
had two crashes this year racing in the endurance series, and I bought a suspension book. I bought a book about tires. I bought a book about riding, how to effectively ride well from I think it's Andy Ibbott, who was the ex-California Superbike school. He was featured on BBC program called The Unemployable because he had a massive stroke and he was a great rider, and suddenly he was basically unemployable in a way, and got
Let's
massively inspired by these things. So I've kind of reversed back and bought these books to
mm.
read over the winter to improve my skills.
So that was Keith Code that set up Californian
Yeah,
Superbike
yeah,
School, I think it is.
absolutely.
And Keith, Keith's got, as far as I'm concerned, he's written the Bible on.
Yes,
So a twist of the wrist
yeah,
is one of Keith Code's books, and I think there's Twist of the Wrist 2, which
yeah,
I might have been Twist of the Wrist 2 that I've got, but I don't think that essentially one's just a slightly updated version of the previous
yeah.
one. So, um, and that might have been, when did I buy that book? Might early mid yeah, mid to late 90s, I think I bought that book.
Hmm.
It was recommended to me by a friend, and I mean, it's not an exciting book to read because it's very technical,
I
right?
can understand. Yeah,
But what an amazing book to, because then you start going, well, that just makes no sense to me whatsoever, but I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it out on the road. And it
absolutely.
just feels, whatever it is that you're doing,
Yeah,
just,
counter steering. Counter steering is a great example. Doesn't make sense.
yeah, you go
Theoretically, it doesn't make sense, but when you try it, you just think, you know what? Well, what this is just it comes naturally to me.
I
It's just
I just wonder how many times a little bit of counter steer has got me out
out of
of a
trouble.
out of a scrape. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I can completely imagine.
absolutely. And
Yeah,
you try and explain counter steering to someone who's just perhaps starting their
yeah,
life on motorcycles, and they just go, "No,
yeah.
that just doesn't
It
sound right
doesn't
at
make
all."
sense. So yeah, there's so much to gain out there, read out there, I think this journey of self-learning, everyone needs to go through that before they start really getting into track days and racing. And
Mm.
talking about Keith Code and California Superbike School, I when I was at my last track day was the Aprilia day, and I met an amazing chap called Jet or John Trotter, if I'm not wrong, if I got that name right. And he was with Andy Ibbott in California Superbike School training people.
Mm.
And he left the school now, he does his own thing. But I just came back after a huge crash at Anglesey Circuit, a huge high side, went head on, and that's the crashed AGV pista there under the covers,
Yeah.
huge crash, and it just shook me a little. So I think a cog in the brain kind of has slowed down. And
Yeah.
I normally do a 1 minute 41 at Cadwell Park, 1 minute 42, and I was doing 148, 149s. And
Mm.
John, Jet, I should say, took me around and I did a 1 minute 44 straight away in
Mm.
3 laps,
Yeah.
and all he was doing was pointing, get the bike here, get the bike here, get the bike here. And he would do this,
Yeah.
you know,
Give it beans.
exactly. And
Yeah.
just sometimes, and 144 is something I had done on my first attempt at Cadwell Park, so it's
Okay.
not an amazing lap time,
Yeah.
but it got me the confidence back a little bit, which I
Yeah.
lost after the high side. And I've had 3, 4 crashes in the last 6 years, which is not bad. But low sides are absolutely fine when you're sliding lovely into the gravel, and I've had a low side at the farm corner at Silverstone on a cold day at, I think, 90 something miles an hour, and I'm sliding for ages. And there's no gravel because
Yeah.
the new Formula One circuits have got less gravel and more runoff area, so you
Okay.
can actually brake. So I was sliding for a long time,
Yeah.
and and just crashes like that didn't bother me at all, the low sides. But when you have a high side and you actually go flying
Oh,
and then
well,
you land I was lucky, unlike Rich, who had a minor crash and broke his collarbone, I think. I
yeah.
had a huge high side and came up absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with me. A few bruises on the ribs, just bruising. Nothing
Well,
major
that's
at all.
that's probably down to luck more than anything else, I think,
Yeah,
Abby.
yeah. I think
Because
I fell like this. I fell like head on. So first thing which hit the ground was my head, and that AGV piece has saved my life.
yeah,
And then I hit my forearm because there was a big bruise here and it was
yeah,
swollen.
yeah.
And then I think that hit my ribs because my ribs were hurting for about 2 weeks. Pelvis, hips, everything hurt,
Mm.
knees. But you get used to these kind of pains. It's okay after a crash, but nothing major.
Well, high side in contrast to a low side, high side obviously you're chucked up,
Catapulted, yeah,
catapulted up into the
catapulted,
air.
and you
I
have
mean,
no control, nothing.
look at some of the spectacular high sides that Mark Marquez has had recently.
Just there's a BT documentary released yesterday or day before on his Indonesian high side or something, and it's amazing to watch. I don't know where it's on BT or something, but they've dissected his high sides, dissected Mark Marquez's.
Yeah, they break it down
Very
into about
interesting,
3 different parts, don't they? So
something like that.
they show you the whole thing, and then they rewind. Where that might be on? Was it on Sky Sports or BT Sports?
I think it's BT.
BT
The worst
Sports,
thing about high sides is they give you hope. They give you hope. Okay, a low side,
what on
you
earth do you mean by that?
because the bike, you lose the bike,
Yeah,
but sometimes the bike collects itself, and that's your hope for a millisecond.
yeah,
That because I remember my crash. Like the team, the concussion team, the medical team was so surprised
yeah.
because I had a huge red mark here, and
Okay.
they thought you're done. Because if you have concussion
Oh,
in club racing, they will take your license away for a month, your racing license.
quite right as well. I think. Yeah, quite
Yeah.
right.
And I thought to myself, there is no way I'm going to fail any of the concussion testing. So they made me smell a few things, which is the old Sid Watkins way. So Sid Watkins, the old Formula One doctor,
Mm.
uh, he used to make people smell coffee. If you could smell coffee rightly, uh, that means you have no concussion. Don't know how he came up with, but that was it. So I passed all the tests. But the funny thing was, when you have a high side, or when I had the high side, they took my bike in the corner. I still have the key in my bike,
Mm.
and my key was lock tight? No, lock wired uh,
Lockout, yeah, yeah.
into something else. And the marshal told me, switch your bike off. And rather than turning my key off, I was changing the suspension preload nut. And at that point, the marshal told me straight to the medical center.
Mm.
And when he told me that, I thought, what have I done? Why is he like, why is he so worried? He was all right because I was walking, I was fine. and I was talking to them, like, what did I do? And
Mm.
then slowly that memory came back, but it only took a minute for it to come back. Then I realized why he's done that.
Mm.
But yeah, slide, you have a slide, and then the bike collects itself, but when it collects you, then it can catapult you,
Yeah.
and you don't really remember much. All I remember is the bike getting collected, and then I'm on my knees and my palms. I don't remember flying. uh,
Right.
but
Yeah.
but I remember my crash very well, and I was
And
very,
you
very
you hit
upset.
you hit your forehead as well, yeah?
Yeah, I hit the side of the side of. I was going to get my helmet, but I'm wearing pajamas underneath.
I
But yeah, it's the side, and that's the same helmet you guys inspected. That's the same
it
helmet.
is, yes. Yeah.
Helmet inspection company
Yeah.
in.
That's a great segue. That is, Abby.
No, no,
Your 20
absolutely.
quid's in the post.
No, no, no. Honestly, and I was speaking to a Polish friend of mine, Maciej, if you're watching, and this afternoon, and we were talking about helmets because he had a crash, and he said helmet inspection company wasn't that famous at that time, and
Mm.
he said I took all the layers off my helmet. My helmet looked brand new because I just had a slight graze. And when he
Yeah.
started taking off every single layer, there was a massive hairline crack on the inside of
Yeah.
the shell,
Yeah.
not the outside.
Oh.
So can you believe that? I mean,
Well,
that helmet,
that doesn't surprise me at all, Abby, because
yeah,
I think people generally don't understand how composite materials fail and how they're
yeah,
designed to fail. So they're designed to, take an impact,
yeah,
and that compression. I quite often liken it to taking a branch and
yeah,
pulling it across your knee, right?
yeah.
The force is on the knee side of the branch, but it fails on the other side. It starts to snap on the other side of the
I
knee,
understand.
right? And that's exactly what the
I
composites
understand.
do on a helmet as
Yeah,
well. So, when people say, "Oh, there's no mark on the outside," but
yeah,
maybe there's something in it. Well, that's just exactly what happens, and then they're
exactly.
designed to dissipate that shock
Yeah,
across the
yeah.
helmet. Yeah,
And
yeah.
if you guys hadn't scanned the helmet, then I got a new one. Crashed, and it saved my life, really. I would say that, just
Mm.
really saved my life because I had no concussion, nothing. And then I bought another. I mean, loads of people recommended to me this helmet, that helmet. I think when you crash in one and it saves your bacon, you then buy the same. So I bought another
Of course you
8GB
do.
piece GP double R or something. So honestly, it's just, yeah, high sides. Coming back to high sides, they change you a
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
I've obviously I haven't done any track stuff,
yeah,
and touch wood, haven't come off on the road, not that I can remember anyway. But used to
yeah.
do schoolboy motocross when we were kids, and I remember. So we used to have kidney belts, right?
Oh,
Right. So they're just elastic belts with like collars,
yeah,
the metal strands on them, and you used to have to take them around like a corset, I guess, for want of a better way of describing it. And so we used to wear these kidney belts. I mean, the PPE that you had back then was pretty shocking, I have to say. But we had shoulder guards and elbow guards and
yeah,
gloves and boots and so on. And I remember I got the red mist one day when I was competing, and uh, I don't know. My brother had wound me up a little bit, and because he was always a good bit better than me, and he always had the better bike than me as well.
yeah.
So not that it was his bike, not that it was the bike. He just had raw talent. So I got the red mist one day and decided that nothing was going to stop me.
Yeah.
Well, apparently there was something that was there that was going to stop me, and that was a tree. So
Goodness me.
I
A
went,
tree.
yeah, I went absolutely. I don't know what happened. Everything just it's difficult to recall what happens when you. But I hit a tree basically, and I was lying on the ground, and I was winded, and I had this kidney belt on, and I was going, couldn't get this bloody kidney belt off, and there's a couple of spectators there, and they're saying, "Are you okay? Are you okay?"
Oh goodness me.
Yeah.
Saying that, when I had the high
Oh.
side, I did have a huge blue mark around my kidney area. So I think you do when you crash, you do hit that part quite a bit. And I've had that blue mark on two of my crashes actually. So yeah.
What's your recovery period like for something like
I am a massive I take a lot of supplements as in vitamins and stuff. And I say that because I want to add the turmeric part because
mm,
turmeric or if you love Indian food, it's in every single 99% of the Indian food you will
yeah,
have turmeric in it.
yeah,
Turmeric is a great antioxidant, anti-inflammatory. Um, it's got loads of antibiotic properties and stuff like that. And I
really?
take turmeric every single day. And when I had the crash, turmeric is great with internal injuries. They give them to horses
Okay.
after a polo match,
Hmm.
because they could have injuries from the what do you call it? I don't know what it is. Bat or
Pucks or pucks or
yeah,
whatever. Yeah.
yeah. So the
Uh,
horses can have that. So they give them after every. I have someone I know someone who plays polo, so it is just a great. So I regularly intake that.
mm,
That I think that really helps me with. I'm talking as if I have a crash every week, but no, that is a great recovery thing. I think in that crash has stayed with me for a bit because we were doing really well that day. The track temperature was 58 degrees. Tires were literally melting. I was on the wrong rubber on the wrong day. I was on a SC3 slick Pirelli, whereas we had Gary Johnson, the Isle of Man winner,
yeah,
in our garage in the
yeah,
next team,
yeah.
and he had the softest rubber. And I thought to myself, it's really hot out there. He's got the softest rubber. You think that on a hot day, and this
Mm,
is Pirelli, this on a really hot day, you would use a harder compound because it will wear slower.
yeah.
But it's the opposite with Pirelli. It's That's what I found out from talking to a lot of people who know what they're talking about. Um, it was just the wrong tire on the wrong day. I did a 68-minute stint, so non-stop riding for 68 minutes at race pace, doing decent lap times. It was Anglesey Coastal Circuit, and I think I was doing 1 minute 15s, 1 minute 14, 1 minute 16s. Great, came back after 68 minutes. Mate goes out, he crashes on the first lap. Another guy goes out in the team. He
Old
comes back
tires.
after 32, 33 minutes. His head wasn't right that day. He had a
Okay.
few issues going on. I go out again,
Mm,
and I think I have a red mist because I wear an orange vest as a newcomer in the racing. I
mm,
have to overtake every single orange vest.
mm.
That is my minimum
That's
prerogative.
your that's your bench that's your benchmark. Yeah.
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 So I had overtaken every single orange vest except. So we went from 31st out of 34 riders to 19th.
Okay.
And we were running fourth in our own class,
Okay.
which was amazing for us.
Ooh.
And then we crashed. That crash. I mean, one guy crashed, then I crashed, and that it hurts me. That crash really hurts me for that day because I shouldn't say this because there were 48 crashes that day.
48.
Yeah, because of the track temperature and the wrong tires people had, high sides, low sides on that peel corner and corkscrew at Anglesey. Altogether 48 crashes in different series. We could have come home with really good points that day, and so that crash stays with me even today. I think about it every day.
It's just a learning curve, isn't it? You
Yeah,
now you
yeah,
know. Now you know.
yeah. And I went a bit slower after that, and I promised my team, uh, rodeo racing team. If you guys are watching, the team is dismantled now because they're doing different things. But yeah, I told my team, look, I'm slower now since my crash, but I will give you minimum 1 hour, 10-minute stints, and that will save us a pit stop. And
Mm,
that's what I did for the next three races. I was slower by 4 seconds per lap, Donington, Cadwell, but
mm,
I gave, and I think um, No Limits Racing recognized me for doing the longest stint of 1 hour 15 minutes on a factory tank, not an endurance tank, non-stop riding at Cadwell Park for 1 hour 15 minutes. And that was a very, very important stint because it was a 3 hour race.
Mm.
My my teammate who started did 45 minutes.
Mm.
He came back in. I did 1 hour 15 minutes. That makes 2 hours. And then the last guy in the team, he did exactly 60 minutes and the fuel light came on and then the checkered flag.
Right.
So basically, if I had stayed, like if I had done a 1 hour 10 minute stint or 1 hour 12 minute stint, that extra 3 minutes would have cost us another pit stop.
Okay.
So sometimes
Yeah.
these things matter in endurance racing.
So why endurance racing? I mean, that's it's not something that I've come across that.
It's brilliant. It is. If you are a bunch of friends, I mean, I was never friends with I didn't even know my race team uh, ever. They spotted me on YouTube. They called me one day. They said, would you like to race with us? And I said, no. And they said, we'd like to name the team Chasing Tents Racing. I said, no. I said, no. I said, I've never thought about racing and I think it's very expensive. And it is bloody expensive.
Yeah.
And I just said no. And then I think they got two of my friends involved in racing who I do track days with, Ben Vale and Gogo, if you're watching. And they called me and they said, oh, you should do this. We are 5 people, but only 3 people will race at one point. You don't have to do all the races. So
Yeah.
they got me in. So, Jamie and Jimmy, who started this team rodeo racing, massive shout out. We finished 5th in the championship in the year,
Yeah.
first attempt as a new team. So yeah, I think, going back to the proper question, which is why endurance racing?
Yeah.
It was I just got approached by someone and I had filmed. So someone spotted me on YouTube in 2020 during COVID from Germany, a team owner of a racing team called Viva Endurance.
Yeah.
They run Aprilias. They love Aprilias, do and die Aprilia. And the guy said, you have that accent because I was born in India and everything. We'll come to that in a bit.
Yeah.
And he goes, we as Germans can understand you very well because you don't speak British and you don't speak Indian. You're somewhere in the middle. So I would like you to come over and I will pay for everything and just film our 6 hours endurance race of not Nordschleife, Nürburgring.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this gentleman lives in hilly area Bavaria. I go to his house. He pays for the flight. He pays for the food. I'm living in his house. He has Aprilias around his dining table. Aprilia 250cc
Oh, the
and
RS
125cc.
250s. Yeah.
Yeah, RS 250cc's.
Mm.
He's got Aprilias in the garage. Amazing guy. He's got a good job and he pays for the racing team. And all I had to do was record their proper German endurance championship. I think it's called ILC or IDC, something like that. And I watched the endurance race, running towards the bike, starting the bike, and I'm a bit of an old school guy, anyways. I love the old running towards the bike and starting it, the
Yeah.
MV Augusta days,
Yeah. Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the Giacomo Agostini days, and
Agostini.
John Surtees is my hero. I love John Surtees, and we got Mike Hailwood and who was the Yamaha guy, Phil Hill, so someone who died lately, the same day he died when Chrissy Rouse, R.I.P. is a great guy. Anyways, so yeah, that German trip and recording the 6 hours of endurance racing of Nürburgring,
Mm.
I had a taste of what endurance racing is like, even as a vlogger. And I
Right.
vlogged it,
Yeah.
I put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And when the call came, I thought, endurance racing is like a fast track day in a way, and the
Mm.
cost is shared between you guys. So I think if you are a team of 3 people and doing a 3 hour race,
Mm.
it's very similar to a cost of a track day these days, I
So
would say.
what's the once you're on the track,
Yeah.
right, and you've got the red mist on and or not perhaps, What's the toughest challenge that you've got when you're on the track?
Um,
And don't
I
say
think
endurance.
no, no, I wouldn't. Because the toughest challenge is when the really, really fast guys overtake you, and this is personal
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah.
And when I say really fast guys, I mean Isle of Man races. I mean British Superbike winners.
Yeah.
I mean British Superstock guys. You know, when these guys overtake you,
Hmm.
y- you can you can be shaken and stirred.
Oh yeah,
Like a
yeah,
James Bond drink.
yeah,
It's and sometimes they overtake you respectfully because
yeah,
they give you that respect because they know you're not a novice track day rider and you're not
yeah,
going to move and you're
yeah,
going to stay in your line, but they overtake you closely. And in the beginning, that kind of shook me a little, like wow, I
yeah.
was like wow, and they leave a black line as they go by. And
Holy
I
shit.
remember Cadwell Park, the back straight which goes up the hill. I think it was the FS3 Kawasaki team and some fast rider from that team. And I think they won the championship this year as well, if I'm not wrong, endurance championship. And
Oh, those teams are competing in endurance as well.
oh yeah, yeah,
FS3.
yeah. FS3 team have got obviously the British Superbike riders, but they
Yeah.
also have an endurance team,
Oh,
which is
okay.
separate guys. Yeah,
Right. I didn't know that.
and yeah, they're not young guys. They are in 50s, in their
That
late
is young.
40s, and
That is young, Abby.
yeah, that's fine, fair enough. That's all right. And so yeah, I mean, when I say young, as in the typical
I know what you
races
mean.
you see on telly. So and yeah, I the guy overtook me and he left a black line. And I
Oh,
think when he used the auto blipper, oh, sorry, quick shifter,
hmm.
probably half a feet of black line was missing because the tires stopped sliding. And then black lines again. Then he changed gear again, and then another. I could see that while riding, and that's the first time I've ever seen a quick, not quick action throttle, the um, the gear changes without the clutch. Oh my God, my
Oh, the
mind's gone
blipper,
completely.
the
The
quick
blipper,
shifter. It's quick,
quick
quick
shifter
shifter.
work on track. Like it
Mm,
can
mm,
I think when seamless gearboxes come, that won't be the case. It would be
mm,
a single black line.
mm,
But when I saw that, I'm like, I can't do that. I
mm,
just can't do that. I need a lot more coaching, and stuff. And this is what I'm saying to you earlier. I've gone back a little. Um, I
mm.
think I'll probably buy a lower power bike, a pit bike, more coaching.
But hey,
Go, go,
so
yeah,
I had a hiatus from motorcycles, road motorcycles for 15, 16 years. And I decided that I was going to get back into bikes again, but didn't want to. I knew I didn't trust myself. Okay, so
yeah,
I went and bought a CBR 650, and I just had such great fun on that bike.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
really good pal of mine. He had one. He had only just recently passed his test at that point in time. He had the CBR 650. I had a shot of it, and I thought I actually like this little bike. So I went and bought one.
Yeah,
Two of us were kicking around like two gay CBR 650 riders, and and
amazing.
and yeah, and actually, my pal Dave, he he's had all sorts of other bikes since then. He's had the
Yeah,
1050 Speed Triple. He's had
wow, like that.
he's got an S1000 XR at the moment. He's got a Speed Twin, the
Yeah,
Triumph Speed Twin. He's had a Thruxton R. And
love it.
he just says, I just, you know what? Some of the best times I've had on a bike have been on that CBR 650.
It's all comes down to manageable power.
I
It all
know,
comes
I
down
know,
to manageable power,
I know.
and a bike which moves around nicely, like a 650 SV650 you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, yeah,
V-twin engine,
mhm,
like your bike, V-twin engine, slim bike,
yeah,
moves really lovely,
mm,
manageable power.
mm.
That's the main thing. And I think I learned that from my humble beginnings in India. So I was born in India, had a
I was gonna ask you this as well. I mean, I know from our previous conversations that you were
yeah.
born in India,
Yeah,
and you later came across to the UK.
Kim, because the UK, a lot of people don't know that on YouTube.
Mm,
I think certain Indian people can make out from my accent, but certain uh, English people or British people or Scottish people
Mm.
probably can't. But I was born in India, and I mean, in those days, I'm talking about 1996. I could have been 13, 12 years old, and I had a 125cc. And no one cares in India in those days. No one checks your license, no helmet, nothing. So, I started from the 125cc, but it actually started from my dad's. The love of motorbikes came from my dad's Jawa
I
250cc
remember them.
two-stroke.
Jawa. Were they Czechoslovakian?
Czechoslovakian
Yeah.
Czechoslovakian company, but in
Yeah.
India they launched as a name called Yazdi. The gear lever and the Kickstarter was the same thing.
That's right.
You could
Hmm.
gear lever, you push it in and
Hmm.
comes back, it becomes a Kickstarter.
Yeah.
So the love of motorbikes. So when
Mm.
my dad wasn't home or something, I would take that bike and
Mm.
try to start it. The only thing I never knew is how to turn the fuel on. So I would start the bike, I
Mm.
would go around the block twice and it would
Yeah.
turn
That
off.
would just run out of fuel. Yeah.
Yeah, and or the carburetor or the fuel little fuel container thing, it had a
Yeah.
glass,
Yeah.
lovely glass thing. My God, what a beautiful bike.
On the carb.
And above the carb, it had a fuel on-off bottle,
Okay.
which was made of glass.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a beautiful bottle,
Yeah.
and it would run out of fuel,
Yeah.
but I would never realize that I have to turn the fuel on. So I would do 2 blocks and the bike would stop. So
Yeah.
all I would do every time is to I bet my dad, when he used to start the bike, thinking,
Yeah.
what
That's
the
what
hell
I
happened?
was going to say. He's probably having to kick this thing like mad,
Exactly.
to get it going.
So it started from that. I came to England in 1998 for 3 months, and I went back to India. And when I went back, my parents bought me a two-stroke scooter. A Honda two-stroke scooter. In India, it was called a Kinetic Honda Marvel. So in India, when you have companies, they are always in 90s and 80s. They were always merged with British. So you had British Leyland,
Yeah.
we had Ashok Leyland, you had Honda in Japan, we had Kinetic Honda, you
Okay.
had I don't know. This The British connection is so amazing. Like the biscuits we ate, the best biscuits were called Britannia biscuits.
Right.
The window cleaner was called Colin Britannia, and it's so many British connections. Royal Enfield, obviously, one
Oh
of
yeah.
them,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
BSA, and we had
Yeah.
plenty of BSA bicycles,
Mhm.
still very popular in India when I was a kid. So yeah, I came to the UK in 2003 when I was 18 and a half years old, and I came here to
Mhm.
do a degree in criminal justice and policing. I wanted to be a detective with the MI5. I just had that dream. I
Wow.
passed the degree. I passed the degree with honors, and then I did my MBA post graduation.
Yeah.
But in India, I was riding. So I had a one two. I had this two stroke
Wait.
scooter
Wait.
when I
Wait.
was
Wait.
an
Wait.
early teenager.
You've got an MBA as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The thing is, my mum's got 4 master's degrees, and I'm the elder son.
Right.
And when you are an Indian family,
Yeah.
you know, you need minimum one master's degree
Okay.
to just say to your mum, what, all right, I did something,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so yeah, MBA, criminal justice degree. But in India, I had the two-stroke scooter. But then when I went to high school, there was a very popular bike in India called a Hero Honda 150cc CBZ or CBZ, and I really wanted that. My mom said, "You're either going to have that bike
Yeah.
or no computer, or you can have a really nice computer and have a 100cc bike, which was not as good looking." I went for that computer and the 100cc bike, but I still did a cafe racer thing on it, low down bars, double
Yeah.
exhaust, and
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
But then that was 2001, 2002. And then I came to the UK in 2003, and I failed my driving test twice, thrice, because I had bad habits from India. And
Okay.
I
Yeah.
was, I,
Mm.
keep the hand on the gear stick. I failed because of that.
Right.
Once I went into the bus lane, so I bought a bike called Biamo Renegade. A German company in Germany was importing these Chinese bikes, and they were going bankrupt. So I bought this Chinese bike in 2003, 2004 for £700, and I sold this bike for £1,800 after 8 months of riding it. you know so it was before Jinluns, before all these Chinese companies came along.
Yeah.
it, it was before I had to register that bike myself with DVLA and stuff. And I had just come from India. I had to learn everything. I know how to do that. But that was my first, because I failed twice on my driving test.
Yeah.
I bought that bike, and it was a Chinese cruiser, like a Harley Davidson,
Oh
and,
my goodness. Yeah.
it's just, but, I was riding that in the snow. I was riding that everywhere, and then I sold it within a year because it started to rust very
Mm,
quickly because it
mm,
was parked outside and it was Chinese.
mhm.
I thought it was German because it came from Germany, but no, it was
No.
Chinese. But then I did not ride for many, many years because I was busy studying and
Mm,
just getting my British citizenship sorted,
mhm,
and stuff like that. Because
mm.
I think I had this very old school Indian mentality in me that even though this country has adopted me, I had to give something back to this country.
Okay.
So I really wanted to be a policeman or a detective,
Mm,
and that's why I did that degree
yeah.
and stuff. But I finished my degree and masters in 2008 when the recession hit,
Mm.
and unfortunately, police were not hiring for the next 6, 7 years. So
Oh wow.
yeah,
Okay.
so I couldn't get into the police, even though the chief constable, I think it's Steelhouse Lane in Birmingham, really liked me, but he
Mm.
said, "Look, we're not recruiting at all." Recession came, the big recession
Yeah.
in 2008, and I got a job in the bank then, and I'm still in banking.
Yeah. So that's again you mentioned this that you work in the banking sector. Um it's quite a it's not what I thought you'd be working in.
Yeah. What
You
did you
know,
think I was working in?
I don't know, counting money or
Well, no, I work in fraud. Well, it all started in a very humble way. I came
sorry,
here.
does anybody actually ever count money? I don't know.
No,
I'm
no,
really-
we're counting apps these days or something. No, everything is on the apps. No, it all
Yeah.
started with a very humble job. And I came here. This guy who owned a pound shop gave me a job in a pound shop. But my first job was in a BP petrol station. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like when in the Midlands, you go to a petrol station. Most of the guys are Indians. I was one of those guys
Right.
in Slough, Collinbrook, next to the
Slough.
Honda. Slough, Collinbrook. There's a little area called Collinbrook next to the Spearmint Rhino strip club, and I'll get to that in a sec. I'll get to that in a sec.
Yeah.
Here's
So
an 18-and-a-half-year-old working in the petrol station in BP,
I didn't
Collinbrook.
even. I didn't even. I mean, why would you think? Why would I think that there's going to be a spearmint rhinos in
Oh,
Slough?
it's important. There is one in Slough, and there's one in Collinbrook, not far from the Honda headquarters. I remember that because I went there when in 2010 in the V10 era. Anyways, not
Is this a
2010,
sign of your misspent
2006.
youth?
Yeah. So I was there at the petrol station. I
Yeah.
only worked there for 4 months.
Uh,
But next door to us was a
yeah.
strip club.
Yeah.
And in those days, you couldn't sell alcohol after 10 o'clock in the night. And the
Okay.
strippers in the strip club had to pay full price for the alcohol if they needed a drink.
Yeah.
And, and they wouldn't want to pay that much money, or already they're paying a cut, to the owner of the strip club
I'm
for their
intrigued
dancing.
about where this is going, Abby.
Oh,
I'm
this this
just
this is
come
this is
on.
very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they would all come. So I had to lock the doors of the petrol station, one man band
Yeah.
running the whole forecourt.
Yeah.
And at 10 o'clock, we would lock the doors.
Mm,
And these girls, they will come in a group. So imagine
mm,
5, 6 stunning
mm.
women come to the little cubby-holy thing saying,
I'm struggling to
beg
picture
you,
this one.
need alcohol big time. Please open the shutters of that alcohol,
Oh,
anything. And they would
those poor girls.
they they would lift their tops. They would literally,
What,
they
give
were
you a
like,
bit
we
of a
would do
flash?
anything. Yeah, no, bit of a flash. It's understatement. They would just tell us what you want, like from this thingy. Obviously, you can't touch through the.
Why are you still not working there, Abby? It sounds
Exactly,
like
exactly. They would be, and I was like, I can't open that thing. There's cameras everywhere and all
yeah.
sorts.
So
But it would be cold, and they would take their coat off, and it was the most the I had just come to the country 3 months ago, and that happened. You know,
yeah,
yeah.
and
So that was,
it's just gone downhill after then, hasn't it?
yeah.
Really,
It is
there's
because from that, the guy who owned this pound shop opened me a huge pound shop in Birmingham, which didn't do really well. So he opened me one in Black Country, which did really well. But I always had the aspiration to learn.
Mm,
So I told him I can't work in this shop,
mm,
anymore. I need to go evening school, evening college,
mm, mm.
evening university, or whatever.
And
And
there's a better job back at the BP garage as well.
exactly, exactly. So I left that, and then I
Mm.
became a TV license officer for BBC. I
Okay.
shouldn't say BBC because BBC used to have a middle company to do that, but TV license,
Mm.
and so that was the best job ever. I think as a 21-year-old, I used to get £2,000 after tax, money for fuel.
Mm.
In 2005, that was a lot of money for
So
a
a
21-year-old.
TV licensing officer, right?
Yeah, TV license officer. You didn't have TV license, you would see me on the door.
Yeah. I remember.
Not an enforcement officer, the one who takes you to the court.
Right.
No, the
Yeah.
polite guy who just comes to your door saying,
Yeah.
"Hey, I think you don't have a TV license. Would you like to buy one for £2.50 a week?" It was the best job. It was great.
I remember when I lived down in Guildford for 4 years in my early 20s, and there was a bunch of us living in this house, and the TV licensing officer came, and I actually what was happening was we'd just had a TV, or we'd had Sky or something like that. I think it was Sky or something like that delivered, and there's a flat roof out the back of this apartment, and TV licensing officer came to the door. I answered the door. Now, we believe that you've got a TV and you don't have a license. And I'm going, nah, we don't have any TVs here. Meanwhile, my pal, one of my pals, is just chucking the box for the Sky dish off the back of the back of the house. He didn't know
Yeah,
he didn't realize that the officers were at the door, and I was
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
like, all right, okay, how much is it?
I know. I've had that. I've knocked the door and the people are like, open the door and like, give us 2 minutes and you can come in. Because the thing is, in those days, the humble days of 2005, 6, and 7,
Yeah,
uh, people wouldn't record you.
yeah,
People
yeah,
would be polite.
yeah.
People would be more trustworthy. And stuff. You've gone a bit out of focus. I don't know if it's
Oh,
your
I
Zoom.
have, I have.
There we
There
go.
we
We're
go.
back.
Yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So yeah, in those days, I mean, I can't do that job today because someone will be recording you and put you on YouTube. Look, TV license man came to my door, and
Mm,
I did that job for 3 years. And in the evening, I used to work at the ambulance service 999 dispatcher, and I also used to do university at the same time. So it was just great times, crazy. I can't do that now.
oh, is there
So
anything you haven't done, Abby?
oh, no. So it was
No.
daytime. It was TV license. No, actually, not daytime. I used to do a funny shift. I deliberately used to work from 3 in the afternoon till 8 because that's the time people are home.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really polite on the door. I had never had a problem. But so many times I've had people open the door, 2 minutes, mate, close the door. Welcome in, mate. And then you would see a dust line
Yeah.
of where the TV was. Not because in those days, people didn't have LED TVs,
No, there were
LCD.
huge
They had the big
boxes.
ones.
Yeah,
Yeah. And you could see the dust line and you would touch the table
yeah,
and it would be warm.
yeah.
And you're like, mate, it's only £2.50. Is it only £2.50 a week? I'll do it. And I think the worst feeling I ever had, and I did not even know this, it wasn't taught us in training. A blind person has to pay half a TV license. Did you know that?
What?
Yes. I went to a house in Redditch. I can take you there right now. I remember this so well. 2006, December, cold, well,
Wow.
December. I knocked the door. This blind person opens the door, and I'm like, this must have been a mistake. But then I saw a history of licenses going back years,
Yeah.
and they were all half price. And immediately I called my boss, and I'm like, I've just knocked the door. The guy is blind. He goes, yeah, he pays half price. And I'm like, what? And then the most sinking feeling I had is when he was so welcoming. He was like, oh my God, I forgot to pay. Sorry, blah, blah, blah. And then he called his dog. The dog got the wallet and it took £68 precisely out and he gave it to me in cash. And, for him, it was absolutely fine. And I just took the money, filled in the form, gave him half a copy and blah, sat in my car for the rest of my shift and
Yeah.
thought, Why is a blind guy paying
Why?
TV license?
Why?
Yeah,
Why?
but
Well,
yeah, but because they can listen
yeah,
to
yeah,
it,
yeah, yeah. Of
you
course.
know.
Do you need a license? Presumably, you don't need a license to listen to the. No, that's why it's called a TV license. I'm being
TV
thick.
license, yeah, as far as I can remember, is very cleverly worded in the Parliament bill,
Mm,
if I can say that,
mm.
if that's the right British terminology. It's a license if you are broadcasting channels. It doesn't say BBC anywhere on the bill,
Oh, really? Oh,
as far as I
okay,
can
okay.
remember. So as long as you are broadcasting channels,
Yeah,
you need a TV license. These days, obviously, people are more clever. People are like, I'm only watching Netflix and Prime and Amazon Prime, and
yeah,
you know, and
yeah,
and and it's different. And to be honest, I was one of the most politest guys. If someone told me, come in, have a look, no skybox, nothing, and in those
mm,
days, people didn't have Netflix and Prime and stuff,
mm,
and I
yeah,
used to say,
yeah,
you know what, fine, you don't need one. So
yeah.
after that TV license job and the ambulance 999 job, which was amazing, and and it wasn't really an ambulance 999 job. It was an emergency doctor dispatcher from an out of hours
Okay,
doctor,
yeah,
not a clinic. It was like a mini hospital. It was like, so
yeah.
I was dispatching out of hours district nurses and doctors,
Right.
and we had one doctor in a Ferrari
What?
who would refuse to put the tracker in the car, so we wouldn't know where he is. It was just
Hang
the
on a
funniest
second.
thing.
Hang on a
Yeah.
second. You've got a doctor.
599, 599, 599, 599 Ferrari. I know they did a GTO, but this was a normal
I,
599, a
I,
dark blue.
I mean, maybe a Hyundai or something like that would be more appropriate for. So he
Well,
was
we had Ford
sorry.
Focuses. We
So,
had
so
Ford Focuses for the doctors, but he said, I don't want your Ford Focus. I'm going to come in my Ferrari and I'm going to go to patient houses in a Ferrari. Um,
it's a
I
little bit
personally think
distasteful, isn't it? Really, it's
I personally think the reason he did that is um, because he probably did not want a tracker in that car. Because with the tracker we could see where he is, how long he's been sleeping overnight. Because it was an overnight job. It was Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday night, and then
mm,
Monday I would do my normal job and go uni as well. Yeah, so that was a very interesting job. We had some interesting calls for doctor visit. So yeah, that was an interesting phase of the TV license and the doctors out of our service. Then the recession came, couldn't get into the police, got into banking, and banking is such um, a quicksand place where I went from personal banking to private banking to commercial banking, business banking, commercial banking, and then now I do. A lot of people think is YouTube is what I do full time, and
yeah,
they don't realize
yeah,
it's just
yeah,
not possible, and
yeah,
um,
yeah.
and I'm now working as a fraud analyst, uh, deciphering fraud, cryptocurrency,
That for me. You see,
crypt,
that sounds fascinating.
cryptocurrency fraud, and a lot of different kinds of fraud. I mean, I saw like dating fraud and all sorts. I get involved in all sorts.
Dating fraud.
Yeah, it's like people pretending to be people from a I hate to use the word third world country, but people from another country pretending to be a doctor from a developed country with a I'm a single parent, and then they will get someone in the UK through a dating app, and then they will ask for money and all sorts, and we just have to safeguard a lot of people. And in banking, unfortunately, there is a lot of attempted fraud, huge amount of attempted fraud, and the cases I see every day, and every day is a different day. And I coming from a
Wow.
criminal justice and policing background in the education side of things, I find this investigating of facts quite therapeutic.
Yeah, I guess.
So that's it. That's the career journey.
I guess it would be uh, well, pretty satisfying, really, if you're helping people to, if you're
Absolutely.
helping prevent fraud. I mean, but I always think that these things are, they predate on people who are less savvy, but even over the last couple of years, I've seen people who are totally savvy
Yeah.
and get caught out, and
Vulnerability, loneliness,
okay,
two very important words.
right, right.
You know,
But even people who aren't
yeah,
vulnerable and aren't lonely
yeah.
and
Panic.
are just like,
People panic and
yeah,
just say yes to things and stuff like that. Any, just
yeah,
but it's this very satisfying feeling to
yeah,
help someone
yep,
stop the payment. I've stopped payments of thousands and thousands of pounds in time,
mm,
and you think to yourself,
mm,
wow,
mm,
you know, on a note of pouring a beer, I'm going
mm.
to pour myself some good old Scottish whiskey as well.
That
Oh.
looks like quite a lowland whiskey. It's quite a light.
It's a very light, yeah. I mean, I don't know. You know more about. I mean, I've got a lovely heat coming from the wood burning stove in the background,
Yeah,
but yeah, it's just the perfect time to have a
yeah,
whiskey. And
yeah.
I'm a brandy person, and I don't
Okay,
drink. I don't
okay.
drink that often, at all. But I thought I'll open the Scottish one this time.
Mm,
This is yeah, it's matured in bourbon barrels,
okay.
Highland single malt, Sovereign, Tullibardine, making whiskey since 1488.
Yeah, it's not
1488.
it's not one because
Very
I was
light, very light.
it is really light actually.
Yeah.
I was brought up in Speyside, which is you know Scotland's heart of whiskey making.
Hmm.
Um, so that's
Wow.
where just a lot. There's a huge concentration of distilleries in Speyside
Yeah.
all along the River
Is
Spey.
is White and Mackay there as well? White and Mackay.
White Mackay.
Mackay.
They're a Glasgow. They're a blender, so they blend whiskey. White
Okay,
Mackay.
because
Yeah,
I remember watching Formula One, and we had the Force India Formula One team owned
yeah,
by the boss of Kingfisher Airlines,
yeah.
Vijay Mallya. He owned
White Mackay.
White and Mackay. He
Okay.
bought that.
Yeah,
I'm 99% sure he bought White and Mackay,
yeah.
and then obviously Kingfisher Beer, Kingfisher Airlines. He was like the Richard Branson of India, and
Okay.
that's how I know this
Yeah,
name,
yeah, yeah.
White and Mackay.
So quite a lot of the quite a lot. There are quite a lot of distilleries that actually don't sell direct to. They don't bottle whiskey direct, and they don't. Well, they won't produce large bottlings. But what they'll do is they'll produce spirit for the likes of White and Mackay and
Hmm.
Grouse and Dewars and all of these people just to make their blend.
Yeah.
But then, in contrast to that, you've also got the distilleries who, oh, well, you've got Macallan, which is probably one of the Glenlivet,
Hmm.
all up in
Exactly.
Glenfiddich, all up in that area.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So yeah.
I think
So yeah.
I've got a chap lined up to come on as a guest. I don't know whether he'll be next or whether he's going to be two guests down the line. But he's a big biker. Uh, he's prolific on Twitter, and him and his mate put together motorcycle related whiskey tours throughout Scotland.
Oh my goodness, that is
So
very interesting.
there's a niche for you now, isn't it?
That is amazing.
Yeah,
That is pretty good.
yeah.
Uh,
So I've got
yeah.
Gary coming on fairly soon as well. Everything's just been thrown up in the air
Yeah.
recently, but
Yeah.
so I'm just trying to get things back on track again. So
Yeah.
let's talk about bikes because
Yep.
it's bikes, beers, and banter.
Exactly. It's turning into everything else except the beer and bikes.
As it
Yeah.
should, Abby. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So tell us. I mean, you mentioned Jawa there
Yeah.
earlier on.
Yeah.
I recognised the Jawa. There was another brand
MZ.
CZ.
CZ or MZ? CZ is I think that you see that on the number plate of Czechoslovakian or something. Or I mean
MZ. I
Slovakia
do
is
remember
separate.
MZs as well.
MZ.
Yeah.
MZ bikes. And Munich, a bike which I'm into my old school bikes. I love this whole old school British biking, distinguished gentleman thing. I love that. There was a bike called Munich. If I'm not wrong, four-cylinder, 1200 cc, the big one. Ugly looking thing,
Mm.
but is like the first Grand Tourer before the Honda Goldwing and stuff.
Here,
It was
here's
just
here's
Munich.
one. Here's one for you. Hesketh.
Hesketh.
Yeah.
Was it anything to do with Lord Hesketh, the
Yes.
guy of
Yeah.
James
Formula One race team. Yeah.
James Blunt,
James Hunt. James Hunt.
James Hunt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
He's
yeah,
a
yeah.
tiger.
I'm a big fan of that guy. Lord Hesketh. He did things differently.
Well, I've got a photograph of me with Lord Hesketh in the background.
Yeah.
My parents had motorcycle shops up in the northeast of Scotland.
Yeah.
And Dad had dealership for Hesketh, and Lord Hesketh
Uh,
came up to the one of the bike shops to launch the Hesketh motorcycle
wow.
in the 80s, and
That's amazing.
and I'll 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 flash up a picture of the actual Hesketh that
Yeah.
pardon me, Dad kept one behind for himself,
Hmm.
and he only over the last couple of years sold it to a local motorcycle dealer with 250 miles on the clock.
And this was the same Hesketh family
Yeah,
behind.
yeah.
Uh,
It was Lord Hesketh. Yeah,
yeah. Wow.
yeah. It was behind the.
They were getting their hands into a few motorsport things. This is very interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm always looking into old. The good thing is I live in the Black Country. Okay, there's a company called Bean Car Company. Ever heard of it?
No.
It was made 3 miles from my house. James Bikes, Sunbeam, which is a great
Oh
name,
yeah, yeah.
which is Wolverhampton, and
Mm.
it's I love living in the Black Country. When I was in India, we were taught about the Industrial Revolution,
Yeah, that's where it
and
started, wasn't it?
I
That's
live
yeah,
here.
yeah.
James Watt lives his house around Soho, not
Mm.
far from me, and the other guy, James Brindley, who designed the whole canal system around
Mm.
Birmingham,
Yeah, yeah.
and Matthew Bolton,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm a big fan of all these old guys. I'm a proper geek when it comes to old school stuff. So yeah, even with bikes, and that's how, we were talking about bikes. So the first bike it wasn't my bike, it was Dad's Jawa, but then I got this two-stroke Honda scooter. Then I had my own 100 cc Hero. It was called Hero Honda Passion. It was a very common bike in India.
Yeah,
Fuel economy of 1,000 miles per gallon, probably.
yeah,
It
yeah,
was
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
And then I came to this country. I bought that Bayamo Renegade, the 125 cc cruiser.
Okay,
A bit of a Jinlun style Chinese cruiser. And then nothing. Since 2004, nothing until 2014. Uh,
okay,
then I bought a Suzuki GXSR 600 after passing my big test
okay.
in 2013 November, but I didn't ride it until the weather got better, which was March
Yeah,
2014.
yeah.
So that was the bike I started riding on the road with. And my
Mm.
first right turn ever on that bike was nearly a crash because I would just silliness. My first my first turn on that bike was nearly a crash because
Mm.
you have no idea about body positioning. You are too fast for the turn, and
Yeah,
the tires on that bike. I think it was a 2007 bike. Oh,
yeah,
fair enough. I mean, 2000. The tires. It still had the same tires and the bike had only done 800 miles.
yeah.
I think the previous owner didn't. He was working in a Scottish um, oil field,
Okay,
oil,
offshore,
not field,
offshore
offshore oil
on
thingy.
a platform. Yeah,
Yeah.
oil
So
rig.
I'm a bit of a geek. I found out, I searched the old owner
Mm.
and I wanted to find out why has it only done 800 miles in 2007 till 2013 when I bought the bike. And I bought the bike from WeBuyAnyBike.com,
Okay. Yeah.
from up north somewhere. And he got in touch with me and he gave me the reasons. And I found a Winnie the Pooh in the rear seat cowl of the bike. And he said, "Oh, he's my mascot." And I said, "Do you want it back?" He goes, "No, no, it's a lucky mascot. Keep it, and it'll keep you safe." And yeah, so that was
Well, it
that was
didn't
that.
keep
And
you
then
safe, did it? First,
well,
well,
in racing, well, first one, oh, nearly crashed. No, no, didn't know nothing, honestly. And I was a guy who liked to keep things standard.
yeah,
Standard exhaust, standard number plate, big number plate,
yeah.
no tail tidy, nothing.
Okay.
I, once I bought a Yoshimura full system,
Uh-huh.
changed my life. I'm like,
Yoshi.
wow,
A
you
Yoshi.
know, upgrades.
Yeah.
These are great.
Yeah.
Tail tidy,
Yeah.
Yoshimura bar ends,
Yeah.
Yoshimura levers,
It's a gift that keeps
Yoshimura
on
crush.
giving, isn't it? You know?
I converted that Suzuki GXSR 600 K7 2007
Yeah.
into a Yoshimura specialist
Uh-huh.
kind of limited edition, my own limited edition.
Yeah.
Anything Yoshimura did,
Yeah.
I they did an American number plates around,
O-
American size. I
Okay.
even bought that and cut a
Right.
British plate to fit in the American number plate style. I even did that. So yeah, that was the proper fast C bike. And my first track day was a 3 minute 2 second at Silverstone on that bike. 3 minutes 2 second. My first track day
I don't know
on that
what
bike.
I don't know what a normal Silverstone right
MotoGP 1 minute 58 seconds. And my
okay.
now lap time on the Aprilia, I've not done Silverstone now for 2 years, but 2 minute 25 I am now.
Okay.
So 35 seconds quicker than my first.
So
Uh,
were you pushing that GSXR around?
no, no, no. The GXSR was only, I think I did a 2 minute 55 and then I sold the bike. I then bought the Aprilia. When
Yeah.
all your friends bought 1,000 cc,
Yeah.
you get the peer pressure to buy the 1,000 cc. I wish I
Yeah.
could reverse time back and still hone my skills on that 600.
Yeah.
But inside my heart, no matter I've got the Aprilia, the Suzuki, I still was a bit old school guy. I needed something retro in my life.
Mm.
And this distinguished gentleman ride came along,
Hmm.
which was tweed suits,
Yep. Hmm.
tashes,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and everything, and charity.
Bit of mustache wax going on there, and
E- Exactly. And a bit of a throw to I'm gonna pause here because I'm getting a call from someone I don't know. 1 minute. When I get an unknown number, I never pick up. But when I get a number on the screen, I think it's an emergency. Okay, anyways. So the Aprilia RSV4 RF, even before, I mean, these modern things are separate, but I still had an old school heart in me. So I saw this amazing CB5, not CB500, what are they called? Plastic Maggots Honda CX500.
CX.
A poor a poor man's Moto Guzzi, the one in your background,
Yeah.
same V
Mm.
twin
Mm.
configuration this way,
Yeah.
not that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was already converted into a Kingston custom style. And we can put a picture of that on there. A Kingston custom style bike, beautiful bike. And I rode that bike for a bit, but it didn't give me the thumpiness I wanted. I wanted a bike which gives me big thumps, big thumpy engine like your,
Yeah.
two big Dulux,
Yeah.
like piston, the Dulux can pistons, like a
Yeah.
V
Yeah. Yeah.
1199. I
Yeah.
wanted a thumpy Harley style thing,
Yeah.
which that bike didn't give. I
So
put it
it
on.
shakes the pavement.
Exactly. I
Yeah.
bought that bike for 2,700. I put it on eBay for 3,500. Just a figure. Some guy pressed buy it now. He didn't even call me. He did
Really?
not message me. He just bought it. And I just suddenly saw someone's bought the bike for 3,500. And I said, "Are you serious or joking?" He
Mm.
goes, "If the bike looks the way it looks, I'm happy to, I'm an ex-constable and blah blah blah. I'm happy to buy this bike." And he didn't even see the bike. He sent someone over who took the bike away, and I got £3,500 for it. So that was the bike, and I did and the beauty and big shout out to Rich Gibson here, who does a lot for mental health.
Yeah.
We raised a lot of money with that bike for Movember Foundation, prostate cancer,
Hmm.
uh, and male suicide prevention.
Hmm.
This was, I mean, these are the days, 2016, 2017 are the days before the whole, people were less offended by charities based male only.
Yeah.
This was a
Yeah.
male only charity,
Yeah.
so we raised a lot of money for that. And it was great. And so I sold that bike because of that eBay thing. Then I always wanted a triple. the sound of a triple resonates with me
So it's got that
because
triumph or something coming
exactly
along
because
next. And
a sound of a triple is very similar to a sound of a straight six. And a sound of a straight six is very similar. The bang of the engine,
mm,
the pistons and the
yeah,
engine and everything
yeah,
is very similar to a V12. And I'm an old school Formula One, early
right.
90s,
Okay.
Senna,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
Prost.
Mansell, Prost, V12,
Yeah.
and stuff. And so
Mm.
triple was the best thing. So I found this guy in Wrexham, Wales, selling a Triumph Daytona.
Oh,
So I bought a
six,
night
seven,
old.
five.
No, no, no. This is the
Oh,
older one.
all
This is
right.
the
Okay.
Hinckley specials.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
the Leicestershire Hinckley Triumph 900 yellow Daytona,
Okay.
where I did two more distinguished gentleman rides on that bike and
Yeah.
sold that. I bought that bike for £900, sold it for 1400. Never ever lost money on a bike ever, me. And
Oh.
yeah. So
I had a Daytona, but it was a 675R. It was
love it.
one of the
L-
last outruns.
One of my favorite track bikes. If you want to learn,
Yeah,
hone your skills,
yeah.
because the pistons are bigger than a
Mm,
four cylinder,
mm,
you get the torque out of the corners.
yeah.
You don't have to rev the nuts out of it
Hmm.
every time.
Hmm.
Sounds amazing. Just a
Yeah,
brilliant chassis. 2014, Billy McConnell, Super Sport British Championship winner.
yeah,
Great bike.
yeah.
Great bike.
Um, it also the power delivery was just just in
Lovely.
such a straight line.
Yeah,
It was all the way through.
absolutely.
Nice quick shifter on it, so you could just keep it pinned and
Great bike.
bang up through the gearbox as you're
Love that. If I had budget,
doing it beans.
I would love that bike. So
Beautiful
yeah,
bike.
got rid of the bike. So got rid of
Mm.
the yellow Triumph, got rid of the CX 500. I was only left with the Aprilia, and did a few track days on the Aprilia. Crashed 3 times in 1 year, which was rubbish. But then I bought recently. Um, I missed that yellow Triumph. I cried when that Triumph went.
Mm.
You know, I literally had tears in my eyes. So I found one for just over 5K, a Triumph Daytona 900, exactly the same bike, but they made a limited edition of a bike called the Super 3. Looked exactly the same with a few carbon bits. In
Right.
93, that was a big deal.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
and the head of the I've done a documentary on the bike as well on my channel, and the head of the bike was done by Cosworth.
Okay. Okay.
Cosworth were
Really?
involved.
Wow.
Cosworth, yeah. So people think that the whole engine was done by Cosworth. I actually spoke to Cosworth and I
Yeah.
spoke to Triumph,
Yeah.
but only the head was just done. And Keith
What did they do? They
Duckworth,
just blueprint it or something?
well, they Keith Duckworth. So Cosworth,
Yeah.
the name Cosworth comes from Keith. Sorry, Mike Cos,
Uh-huh.
Keith Duckworth,
Yeah.
Worth, Cosworth.
Okay.
So
I didn't
two
know that.
chaps,
I
yeah,
didn't know that.
two chaps.
Right.
So they worked with Colin Chapman back in the day with the Lotus 49, the legendary Lotus 49,
Mm.
and these guys, uh, you know, they really worked, with together with each other. So Triumph contacted them again, and
Mm.
they in the early 90s, late 80s, Mr. Bloom,
Oh, Bluer.
Blur,
Bluer.
Blur,
Yeah.
the guy who owns
Yeah.
Triumph now,
Yeah,
100%.
well, Nick Bluer is his son. He's the CEO of
Exactly,
Triumph. Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. So his dad,
John Bluer.
John Blur, he got them two involved in the
Mm.
project.
Mm.
So everything was done by Triumph, but the head was in the Cosworth foundry. They had their own foundry. It was done there. They did a few, you know, I think they got 16 or 18 horsepower out more on that bike. It
Okay.
had Alcon brakes, Tamworth, and not far from the Black Country.
Yeah.
There's a company called Alcon. They make brakes for the Ministry of Defense. They
Okay.
make brakes for electric cars, the IDR, the Nordschleife, record-breaking car. I'm becoming geeky here now. They did a six-piston caliper for that bike.
Yeah.
The bike was way ahead of his time when it
Six.
came
A
to
six. Hold on.
six
A
piston.
six piston caliper for a
Yeah,
motorcycle.
motorcycle, six piston. That even now it sounds crazy. I mean,
It does.
that caliper, Alcon put Triumph's name on the caliper. But that caliper, those caliper, pair, that pair was used by many British superbike riders in the
Yeah.
90s
I
and the
mean,
late 90s.
those Brembo M50s, they're what,
Forget them.
four pistons.
Yeah, forget everything. That was a six piston, and I've still got that bike, that
Mm.
Triumph, amazing bike, And I mean, there's
Oh,
not
you've still got it.
huge. I've still got that Triumph. Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
love that.
okay.
I'm not.
Okay.
I'm keeping that. I struggle to save money.
I wonder why.
I struggle to save money. So what I do
It's a gateway
is
drug.
I buy an old motorcycle.
Yeah.
And the only reason I sold the old motorbikes is when I needed the money. So
Yeah.
if I need the money, I will sell the bikes.
Yeah.
So I've still got that bike. Then I I was I'm not a big Bollywood fan, but when you are a teenager, you
Yeah.
sometimes come across movies and you remember, like there was a program, American program, which was dubbed in Hindi in India called Street Hawk. Do you
Okay.
remember it?
Yes, I do.
Street Hawk.
I do. Yeah.
Street Hawk. There was a bike in his Street Hawk. I had no idea what that bike was, but it was a great bike. It was an off-roady, converted into a roadie bike. It was like a supermoto for that time.
Yeah.
So, and there was a Bollywood movie with a Honda CBR 1000F. And I've done a video on that bike as well. But I thought one day I'm going to buy that bike. So this
Mm.
guy in lovely Devon was selling this bike for, I don't know, £1,900.
Mm.
I contacted him, bought it, straight away.
Mm.
And that's the second bike. It's like a sport tourer. It's a
Okay.
straight four-cylinder engine, boring
Yeah.
engine,
Yeah.
but it's a beautiful power delivery.
Yeah.
Starts every time. The carburetors don't clog.
Mm.
I'm not mechanically minded that much. I don't empty the carburetors during winter time. I leave the fuel in.
I don't know if I don't know if you got an opportunity to see the first episode that we did of Bike Spears and Banter, and that was with Alex Wynn, who's
I have not seen that one. I've seen the one with
Alex
Rich Gibson, but I've not seen that one.
Alex Gwynn, sorry, not Wynn. And Alex has got a 1970s CB 750, which he's been
It's amazing.
restoring, and it is just
Great bike.
you know, he's even got the right color of tank
Yeah.
on it, and it's just
That was the first superbike.
yeah. And I love watching his
That was- yeah.
watching his little videos because he's very, very, very competent
Yeah.
mechanically.
Wow.
Although he says to me that he's just just pretty normal level of mechanical competency. But no, he's so go and have a look at his videos. He's got a
Yeah.
little series of these little.
I can't do anything on my bike. I will look at his videos. And
We're doing brakes or
that bike was the first super bike, a bike with electric starter.
mm,
When British bikes were really struggling at that time. Norton, BSA, Triumph. I mean, Triumph was
they were
nearly
ankle breakers as well, weren't they?
exactly, and Triumph was nearly gone in Meriden, Coventry, just outside Coventry. I think the only thing and I spoke to a Triumph ex-employee who told me the officer and the gentleman, Richard Gere.
Okay.
That movie saved Triumph
Really?
for a bit.
Really? Oh
Yeah,
goodness.
because Richard Gere was riding that Harley style, Triumph and stuff. So we were in the doldrums, and this CB, the 750 came, and it completely destroyed everything.
Yeah.
And my favorite kind of thing, which I would love to own, is the CBX 1000 six-cylinder. The six-cylinder.
Great big wide 6-cylinder job. Yeah, I've got one of my I go on LinkedIn quite a lot actually, and for work related stuff, and there's a chap there that I'm connected with who lives just over in Yorkshire, and he's got the CBX 1000, which is it's got this really wide engine block on this bike,
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would love that bike. That bike, a good condition bike, a really pristine one is 24,000, 20,000 these days.
Oh wow.
And an okay condition is about 14, 12,000. Those bikes are really, I mean, I think there are three major six-cylinder bikes which are famous. The Benelli 900, the Kawasaki six-cylinder, I think it's a 1200 if I'm not wrong, and then the CBX. But the most common one is the CBX
I don't
Uh,
remember the Kawasaki
yeah,
6-cylinder at all.
there's a six-cylinder Kawasaki 100%, and it was a bit more bulkier than the I can't say sleeker, but it is sleek 6 CBX 1000. But
Mm.
that I would love that bike, and I would love the Top Gear, not Top Gear, Top Gun Kawasaki.
Oh, it was
The
a J. No, it wasn't a JPZ, was it? It was a
I
Z
think it's called GPZ 900.
900. Oh, I thought
900.
JPZ 900. Yeah,
They did a turbo 750 and then a 900
yeah,
naturally aspirated.
yeah,
Did you know? And next time you watch the old Top Gear,
yeah.
uh,
Top Gun,
not Top Gun,
Top Gun.
there is no Kawasaki badging on that bike because Kawasaki refused to give them the bike.
Oh, so they debranded it.
So, so they rebranded it. And
Mm.
then in the
Everyone knew.
recent
Everyone
and
knew
the
what it was.
recent move, and that the bike became so popular with that movie. But in the recent movie, Kawasaki actually approached Top Gun and said, "We will give you the bike, the H2R, and
Oh,
Tom Cruise can keep it for free."
right.
So this is so that bike I would love to own them because those bikes you can still buy them for 2 to 3 thousand to 4,000 in great condition.
Mm.
I think the 1982 the earlier one with the 16-inch
You're
wheel
you're
is
you're a proper addict, Abby. I think I would
yeah,
describe you as a
exactly.
proper addict.
Well, yeah, because if you because when I bought the Triumph and I bought the Honda, then this gentleman not far from the Brands Hatch circuit advertised a Suzuki GXSR 1100,
Okay.
the bike which was the guru. Like,
Mm.
well, the 750cc was the guru of the superbike. It started the superbike era,
Yeah.
but the 1100 was a bit more powerful, and he was advertising that, and I did not have the money. I begged, borrowed, and steal. And it was a pristine bike, and I bought it, and I somehow bought it, and it's so pristine that even the classic Suzuki guys, I did
Yeah, yeah,
um, a Cadwell meet with them, and
yeah,
they looked at it and they were like, "No, this is unbelievable." It was basically the guy stripped the whole bike, new wiring loom, new everything,
yeah,
new paint, new galvanizing, new everything, new
yeah.
Yoshimura full system.
Mm.
So that is the recent and the last purchase. So we've got the Honda CBR 1000F, which is in not a great nick, but it looks fantastic. And when you look at it from far,
Yeah.
it looks brand new. The Aprilia, which is the race bike, the Triumph Daytona 900 Super 3 Cosworth, and the Suzuki GXSR 1100. So four bikes at the moment.
Yeah. So some pretty amazing retro old school bikes there. I it's from an era when I was getting into bikes. You're
I can
talking.
imagine.
Yeah, well, I had I had a really privileged upbringing because mum and dad had three motorbike shops,
No
and
way. I
and
never knew that.
my brother used to work in one of them as well, so he had the key to get into the back garage where all the second-hand bikes were kept. And on a Sunday, we would just me and my brother would go in there, unknown to my parents, and take out whatever was there. And I was 15,
Brilliant.
and I was 15 at the time.
That is unbelievable.
Riding a GS 1000 away out the back roads at 15 years old, So um,
That is well, I'll have to do a podcast on my channel because that's really got me going. That is interesting. I'm going to do a podcast on my channel and I'll have you on my podcast.
brilliant. Yeah, RD RD 400. My brother
Wow.
had an RD 400. It was a barn find, so he drove it back from. He picked it up really cheap, drove it back on one cylinder.
No
Uh,
way.
yeah, then got it in the workshop. Took it out to some of the lads he knew who would port it and skim the heads, port the barrels, and this is just once he got this bike back on the road, micron expansion chambers, yeah, just a proper two-stroker, and
It is.
air cooled two-stroker, and this thing once it hit the power band, the front wheel was never on the ground. It was
I
just,
can understand.
it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
always up there. And I used to be on the back as ballast.
The the wrong kind of ballast, because you will help with the wheelie even more
Well,
if
that's
you're at
it.
the
Yeah,
back.
that was it. That was
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
No, they were legendary bikes. I think in the UK, I'm pretty sure Damon Hill, the ex-Formula One driver,
Mm-hmm.
he used to race the 350
Oh, the
and the
LC.
400. Yeah,
Mm.
the 350cc one. And I think we had a championship of that in the UK. I mean, I wasn't
I
in this country, but
I
yeah,
got
but
I got speaking to. I was at Motorcycle Live last year, right? Not
uh-huh.
not not this last one past.
Yeah.
And Hodgson Mackenzie, the
Yes, I was
insurance,
there. I,
right,
I had took a picture with them. Yeah.
right. So I got speaking to Neil Mackenzie, and I was just admiring the. It was a. I'm not sure if it was a 250 or a 350 LC that he had on the stand, and I was admiring it. And he came over and started speaking to me and said, "Oh, do you like the LCs?" And I said, "Yeah." And I just got chatting away to him about, we had the dealership for them up in the northeast of Scotland, and all right, right, yes. And that conversation just led to our. Then I got chatting with Neil introduced me to his son Taylor, T
Taylor.
Mac, T Mac,
Yeah.
right?
He was there vlogging as well.
I didn't see him there, but I just got introduced to him through over WhatsApp, and then I introduced Taylor to one of the helmet manufacturers that we are and were working with, and Taylor's now got sponsorship with those guys as well. So
Yeah,
funny.
because it was perfect timing for Taylor, because I think Taylor was finishing his British Superstock
Mm,
Championship and going into managing a Moto3 team
Moto3 team, that's right. Yeah,
with the two young lads.
with oh god, what's his name? What's
I
his?
forgot the name of the lads, but two young
Yeah,
lads,
yeah, yeah,
very
yeah,
talented lads.
yeah.
I saw Taylor on the same day or a day before. He was there, so I had the similar camera as Taylor. We
Mm,
were vlogging everything.
mm,
He didn't have the gimbal,
mm.
and I showed him the gimbal, and he was like, "Oh my God, a gimbal cuts out all the judder." I said,
Yeah.
"Yes, Taylor, you need to get a
Mm,
gimbal for your YouTube channel."
mm.
And I met him at the Silverstone track day in 2020 when he was helping his dad, because his dad coaches there. He's got the Silverstone Masterclass.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, so his dad is the be all and the end all of the
Mm,
masterclass,
mm.
and he gets Neil he gets Hodgson, he
Hodgson.
gets a few Graham Hardy. I know
Mm,
him. His son is in the super sport, the 400cc
mm,
championship in the British Superbike Championship, and Taylor was there teaching people as well. So I met him there,
mm,
and when he just started his YouTube channel, and then I met him 9 months later, and I told him,
mm.
"You still haven't bought the gimbal,
Yeah.
Taylor."
Yeah.
So it was quite. No, I remember that exact location where Neil Hodgson and Neil Mackenzie was there with their lovely bikes. So yeah, with
Yeah,
their
there was
insurance. There was a
excuse me.
BSB, their old BSB, the blue BSB of
I think there a 1098 Ducati or
yes, that one, and also Neil Mackenzie's old bike as well,
999. Oh, an
sponsored by
851 or something. I'm just plucking numbers out the
I don't
sky
know. It's all
now.
right. I love the Ducati 851, by the way. So no.
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. So I did two 1 hour videos of that NEC last year.
Hmm,
Didn't do well at all.
hmm.
Because
I created a whole load of content because I had a gimbal as well, but I was just using it. It was an Osmo, so I
yeah,
was just
boys,
using
they are great.
my phone.
No, phone.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
many people don't realize
mm,
how good phones are. I mean, this can do 4K
yeah.
with stabilization.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stabilization better than the DSLR camera, which is
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, the
Yeah.
these gadgets now. This is an iPhone 11,
Okay.
and so many people don't realize even an iPhone 11, which is 3 generations old.
Yeah.
You know, I've done so many vlogs on YouTube, and
Yeah.
they've not realized that it's just been done. The whole thing
I've
has
got
been done on a phone.
my iPhone's an XS. It's a
Oh
10.
yeah,
Yeah. It's ancient, proper ancient.
only a year older than mine, so we're okay. We're okay.
So crashes. You've had some.
crashes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we talked about that. We talked a little bit about the crashes earlier. Sorry, I'm just going to dip out of sight here whilst I reach for
No,
my
you're still in sight.
fine. I'm just about to reach for my final brew dog. So,
I'm gonna reach for my knobbly nuts, or is it Nobby's nuts, the
no.
ones you get in the pub
I don't know. That's
with my whiskey?
Nobby's nuts. Nobby's
No,
nuts.
Nobby's nuts, yeah.
Fanar, fanar. I've even got a little fridge down here.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. So my beer is maintained at a perfect temperature.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
let's talk about crashes.
I know. It's they come in. The crashes are like buses. Two come at once,
Mm,
and honestly, I think the first ever crash I had my pristine, and when I say pristine RSV4 RF, and I always thought I'm uncrushable, and I was doing some pretty okay lap times. I think I was 1 minute one at Mallory, 2 minute 2 minute 30, 2 minute 29 at Silverstone GP configuration. I was going well, but again, going back to the topic of I wasn't reverse engineering. What are the right tire pressures? I don't know. I couldn't be
oh,
bothered because I used to ride to the track and ride back. I couldn't be bothered to reduce my temperatures of my pressures of my tires. I would just run the same um, kind of temperature pressures,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I would be in the fast group, intermediate fast group, and I
Your tires are not getting up to proper
no, they
operating
were.
temperature, were they?
No, they were. They absolutely they were. But the problem was, if you've ridden to a track at 40 psi and you're doing really well at the track,
Mm-hmm.
you are now 55 psi,
Yeah.
probably, if
Mm-hmm.
not more.
Mm-hmm.
So, and whereas you should be at 28 or 24 or 30 psi, depending front or back.
Mm.
So the first crash at Corpse Corner, the famous Corpse Corner, which is a very fast right-hander at Silverstone,
And
I
then
gave my
and then down the.
no,
Oh, no,
then
sorry, no, I'm thinking about Brands Hatch. Sorry.
no. This is Silverstone Corpse Corner. After
Yeah.
Corpse Corner, you've got the Maggots and Beckett's. So this is the famous corner. If you watch Formula One, where Hamilton and Verstappen had a huge crash last year,
Mm.
and so yeah, I gave my tire to the tire guy to change. He changed it up. He put them back on for me. Thank you very much. I never checked the tire pressures. Never. I was following the instructor, doing really well. Did a 2 minute 30, the best ever I did at Silverstone.
Mm.
And in the intermediate group, and just Corpse Corner just crashed. And then I measured my tire pressures, sorry, and they were 52 or 48 psi, where I should be 24 psi
Yeah.
in the rear.
Yeah. I mean, that's
I
really,
was
really high.
stupid, absolutely stupid of me to not check that. And this is why I say reverse engineer your learning process,
Yeah.
go back,
Yeah.
and just learn a few things. Nowadays, people are more. I'm talking about 2018.
Mm.
For nearly 4.5 years ago. But nowadays, there's so much help online,
Mm. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
right and wrong help, but help,
Yeah.
and honestly, and then that was the first crash, high speed crash. We can put a footage of that on the screen as well. I've got footage of all the crashes
Yeah.
except for the last one. So high speed crash, went into the gravel very gently. I
Mm.
kept, I, I don't know what came to me. I never left my bike.
Mm.
Even though I was sliding all the way to the gravel, I never left the handlebars. And I think that helped the bike not flip.
Okay.
Because if the bike flips
That's when the
at a
damage
gravel
starts.
trap,
Yeah.
there's more damage. So I only had damage on the one side, and it was easily sorted with some two panels, job done, and a new can sorted. So not much damage at all. So that was the first crash. Um, the second crash happened at Snetterton Circuit. I booked myself a track day a week before BEMSI, the British Motorcycle Racing Club. BEMSI? No, the British Motor BEMSI, British Motorcycling Club. You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
probably got that wrong,
Yeah.
but the people know I'm talking about. So the whiskey is getting to me now. So 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 so
Sludge.
a week before Bemsey guys were gonna have a race, I was there. So basically, we had, and I booked myself in the fast group because I had done three Euros in the same month. I had done
Mm.
a Cadwell Park, a Donington Park, and I did a really decent lap time at Donington, 1 minute 42 or something, on the hottest record day until it was beaten this year, 39.9 degrees. And so I was having a great year,
Mm.
and I had the Silverstone crash, and then a week later I had this Snetterton thing, and
Mm.
then I crashed again.
Mm.
Or it was the other way around. Anyways, I crashed a week later.
Yeah.
So 2 crashes in 2 weeks. I booked
Yeah.
myself on a day where we had races galore in the fast group.
Mm.
And after doing those 3 Euros in 2019, in April, I was booking myself in the fast group every time because I was decent
Yeah.
at that, but you're not as decent as club races from
Yeah.
Bemsey,
Oh.
you know.
Mm.
So
Mm.
I put myself under too much pressure and
Mm.
crashed on the first session.
Mm.
Outbraked myself and nearly crashed into someone, and I knew I was going to crash into him, and I braked even more, so I self
Yeah.
crashed,
Yeah.
and it was a lovely, lovely crash. Nice kind of, like
time
when you've
for
had a,
time for a cup of tea on the way down,
yeah,
sliding down the road. Yes.
you, once you've had 2, 3 crashes,
Mm.
you can actually
Yeah.
uh,
Grade
put
them.
crashes into
Rate my
rate them,
crash.
rate and grade. Yeah, like the rate the plate or something on
Yeah,
Facebook or something.
ratemycrash.com. Yeah.
Rate my crash. So it was a nice crash. We can put a footage of that as well.
Yeah.
And it wasn't too bad, but it was gutting because 2 crashes in 2 weeks
Oh yeah. Yeah.
is not nice.
Yeah.
Luckily, it was September, and I had nearly done with my track days. But that Silverstone crash, no. Okay, I remember now. Snetterton was first, which I've just mentioned,
Yeah.
and then Silverstone was a week later. That Silverstone crash. Okay, we go back again. My first crash was at Corpse Corner.
Yeah.
My second crash was that Snetterton one.
Right.
Okay, and then a week later, I was at Silverstone again. So the first crash was at 2018. The second crash at Snetterton was at 2019. But a week later, I was at Silverstone. So I was all ready for Silverstone. I had
Yeah.
patched the bike up
Yeah. Yeah.
at Silverstone. Cold day. And in
Mm-hmm.
those days, I used to use second-hand tires from British Superbikes. Again, wrong tires for the wrong day. A very cold day, and I was using an SC0 qualifying tire.
Mm-hmm.
Wrong SC0 slick. Wrong tire for the wrong day.
Yeah.
Anyways, Farm Corner. Farm Corner is a corner which is a very fast left-hander, but you have many right-handers before that because
Mm.
most of the UK circuits are clockwise.
Yep. Yeah.
UK, and a tip, if I can mention, Paul Curran, which Rich Gibson also mentioned from
Mm.
PCR Performance, they won
Yeah.
the British Superbike Championship this year.
Yeah.
Paul Curran installed my tire temperature sensors in my bike.
Okay. Yeah.
And he put the tire temperature infrared sensor on the left-hand side of the rear mudguard and the front mudguard, because he said the right-hand side is always going to be warm because the
Okay.
clockwise
Yeah.
tracks are in
Yeah.
the UK.
Yeah.
So
Makes
you're
sense.
always going to have, so you have the tire temperature sensor on the left,
Mm.
so it's always measuring the temperature on the left.
Mm.
So that's just a quick tip. Anyways, so Farm Corner, a left-hander, I was just too fast behind the trainer again.
Mm.
Behind the trainer at Silverstone, first crash, behind the trainer, third crash, again putting myself under too much pressure,
Mm.
just lost the front, went sliding and sliding. Unfortunately, the bike must have touched something, a curb or something, and it rolled in the air,
Caught. Yeah.
came back. Damage to my foot, which
Yeah.
still hurts slightly,
Mm.
but after 3 years, but a lot of damage to the bike. But I have a friend called Gogo Gomez who gets featured in my YouTube videos quite often because we do a lot of track days together. He sorted my bike out. He does all the labor work. I only had to give him parts.
Right.
It didn't charge me a single penny. Amazing guy.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I saved a lot
That's
in labor.
because that's the fear for me, is just the sheer. It's not the cost. Well, yes, obviously there's a cost of tires, fuel, getting there, accommodation, and if that's a thing. The costs, it doesn't take long for you to actually see how these costs ramp up. And
No,
then you have an off,
exactly.
and you just think, oh geez, but just all these
And
costs just
remember, and
compounding.
the 1199
Mm.
is not a common bike
No.
because the 899 came out and
Hmm.
the 1199 came out. Absolute genius by Ducati. Longer service intervals, less belts in the
That's right.
engine.
Yeah.
Great bikes. However,
Chain. Yeah.
yeah, very quickly they introduced the 1299.
Hmm. Yeah.
So not many people have got the 1199.
Yeah.
So if
Mm.
you crash your 1199, it's very hard to get the parts,
Mm.
the fairings, and
Yeah.
you don't want to have the Chinese, fiberglass crap, and stuff, because
Oh.
it's just you will always know it's not the same,
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I can understand what you mean completely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the 1299 parts will probably fit the 1199. Um,
uh
essentially, it's it.
could be.
Mm.
I think the 1299 was a little bit more wider because they were really gunning to win the British Superbikes with Shaky Burn,
Shaky.
yeah,
Yeah.
with the 1299. So they made
Mm.
the fairing a bit wider, just like the BMW have done that now with Scott Redding.
Mm.
Bigger rider, bigger fairing, more of
Yep.
a fish
Yep.
mode
Yep.
moment, more of a streamlining. So I think maybe the 1299 fairings were a little bit wider. I might be wrong. The Ducatista can correct me on the comment section.
Yeah. You see, I just that's where you lose me as well. I like my bike. Um, you know, I know a fair bit about it. But I don't get worked up about having to
Uh,
know absolutely
exactly.
every single detail about it.
Yeah, I can
You know,
imagine.
you know.
So yeah, going back to the crashes, so there were three crashes within a year, and
Mm,
then nothing for 2020, 2021, and so two and a half years no crashes, and then 2022, a testing day before my first race. So Friday, so Thursday was the testing day. I
yeah.
shouldn't call it a testing day, it was a track day. But
Mm,
90% of the people on that track day were racers because we were racing on Sunday and Saturday.
yeah.
So testing day was Thursday. I crashed on the testing day. I only had 48 hours, less than 48 hours to repair my bike to pass scrutineering
Yeah.
on Saturday. And scrutineers saw a big hole in my lower fairing, and I had to patch that up half an hour before the endurance race started.
Gaffer tape.
Uh, no, it was a fiberglass job. He
Oh
said
my
you need to
god.
buy a fiberglass kit, fiberglass it before
Ugh.
the race. Luckily, I had fiberglassed once before, so I knew what to do.
Yeah.
And my
Yeah.
team, amazing team, again, they don't exist anymore, but I'll give them a shout out. They helped me with that as
I
well,
thought that
Jamie
was.
and
I
Jimmy.
thought this was going to take you back to your days at BP, the BP garage.
No, oh, Spearmint Rhino. Yeah, imagine me wearing a hoodie of Spearmint Rhino. No, oh my goodness, no, no, no. So yeah,
uh,
that was that was that crash, and then the last crash, which I just mentioned, the Anglesey Coastal Circuit,
yeah.
big high side.
Yeah.
So yeah, to be honest, I've not done that bad. 6 years of track riding and
Yeah.
four crashes. It's okay.
That's
You
pretty
know,
good. Yeah.
it's okay. I
Yeah.
think
I
it's
mean,
okay. I think they were avoidable. All of them were avoidable because, especially the Anglesey track day, sorry, Anglesey racetrack, four times my electronics on my bike are a bit old school. So like 1199 electronics, a little bit old school.
yeah.
They are on and off.
Yeah.
My bike gave me four warnings to
Okay.
say, I'm going to high side you.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to high side you. One in
Yeah.
qualifying and three during the race.
Right.
Because when I did the 68-minute stint, I had three near high sides, but my bike saved me. And I use a little over suspension device. Not going into detail, it's a device used by an Italian team called Barney Racing Team. It's a mass damper which bolts onto your swing arm. It helps with um, oscillations on the swing arm, so it helps you with the high sides and stuff. I've done two videos on that, but that's a separate topic altogether. But
Yeah.
that and the electronics saved me from 3, 4 high sides. But then the fifth one, the bike said,
Mm.
you can't have that because there was
Yeah.
an orange vest guy.
Yeah.
Remember, I said I was
Yes.
obsessed with overtaking
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
orange
Yeah.
vests.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I had one last orange vest guy left, which was right in front of me. So orange vest guy is a novice rider, but novice riders are quick riders because they are still racers.
Yeah.
I just gave it too much to overtake him, to line him up for the corkscrew, and I crashed at the Peel corner at Anglesey Coastal Circuit, big high side. But so these are the crashes. But yeah, you learn from them.
And is this how we actually came about to meet each other?
That is a very good point, because when I had the testing crash, I had a so I am quite a awake person when I have a crash. I know what's happening, straight away. So most of the time I had my held up because my helmet was very expensive, £800, and I had my in 3 crashes in a row, my head was up. But this testing crash at Donington, I had a minor graze on the tarmac, minor graze. And funny enough, AGV guy was present on the track. He looked at it and was like, it's a minor crash and a minor graze. I can't give you anything in writing, but you can use it for racing. No problem. That's fine. I said, fine, no problem.
Yeah.
I then raced with that helmet, but because it was only 48 hours, I did it because I took his word.
Yeah.
But between that race and the next race, I then came to you guys, the helmet inspection company. And I thought, it was a minor graze. Let's see what you guys say. And I went to the East Midlands premises of yours.
Our lab, yes. Yeah.
Your laboratory met Professor John from
JT, yes. Yeah.
Prestigious Loughborough University, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
And he explained to me about the Bentley engine he's worked on and the hulls of the boats and the lifeboats and what I was surprised about the helmet inspection company is I thought it was a one-man band. You've got a machine and you just scan helmets. No. You work with a team. You have a huge premises. You scan retinas, you scan lifeboats, you scan hulls of ferries, you scan crash bridges, the base of bridges. You scan everything and everything. And when I say scan, I mean deep into it. So yeah, going back. So I came to you guys. I along with 4 other helmets from my acquaintances, and I had an old helmet, a cafe racer helmet, a touring helmet, a race helmet, and a road biking helmet. And we scanned all 4, didn't we? And all of them were okay except mine, a minor graze on that AGV pista. And I could not believe, I couldn't believe that minor graze was and the best thing about that was not only you put a little hologram, digital hologram, I should say, I don't know what you call it, on the helmet, which stores the data of my helmet, which says you cannot use it anymore, or different stages of it scanning. I also knew exactly where the problem was.
That's right. Yeah. So put a little sticker,
a red sticker,
to annotate where the center of the damages, but
exactly.
But that scale and size of the damage can extend out much further. It's like
absolutely, and
it's like sticking a pin in the center of a spider. The legs are much wider.
And if you think about it, a little pin, a little pinhole, a little hairline crack, and it's like windscreens these days in the snow.
Yeah,
a little chip can turn into a crack.
Well,
same thing, same thing with the helmet. So they really pinpointed the problem of my helmet. And hey, I don't want to blow the trumpet of your company in this podcast, but what I want to say.
Yeah, I mean, sorry, Abhi. I was just going to say, it's not the point of the podcasts, but I'm always worried. I'm always pleased to hear people blowing our trumpet. I won't stop.
I know. But which company will give you a certificate to say you could use this helmet or you can't use this helmet on the track? If the AGV guy could not give me an email or a text to say you can use it or not, I
Yeah,
mean,
we
for
come
me,
across that
that was a
all the
big
time.
deal. So
Yeah.
you told me that you can't use that helmet anymore,
Mm.
and I just bought, and luckily with a race license,
Mm.
the helmet which could have cost me 600 costed me 580.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, 600, 900
Yeah.
cost me 580.
Yeah.
So I bought that. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. That's the
Mm.
helmet you scanned.
Yeah.
That's the helmet I bought.
Yeah.
Same helmet, just a FIM
Film
homologated
homologated. Yeah. Yeah.
helmet now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, the crashes, not only I learned a few things about my body, about the things, about tires, about
Mm.
suspension, about
Mm.
being, not using the wrong tires in the wrong time. Also about, even if it's a minor graze,
Yeah.
I came,
Yeah. I mean,
it was,
your story is not unique, Abby. I've got what one of my next guests. I've got a couple lined up further down the line. One of my next guests is a super sport rider from BSB, chap called Ben Tolliday, uh,
oh,
and
Nick, I don't follow super sport as much as follow super stock, because I know a lot of people, but I've come across this chap on his Facebook page.
he's a
Yeah,
great guy. Honestly, just such a lovely guy.
yeah,
Uh,
him more
you
than me.
know,
Yeah,
I love it. I love speaking to these guys because they're so calm and relaxed, right? And yet, you're seeing them send it into a corner at top speed, and they're breaking the back wheels off the ground, the legs dangling out, and everything's going on at the same time, and you think,
yeah,
there's no way I could do that.
yeah.
And anyway, so Ben's going to be coming on soon as well. I've already lined that up with him.
That's
Um,
really good. But you're right about these guys. I spoke to Storm Stacy last week, and I've spoke to Jason O'Halloran. I
well,
have a problem with my sinuses. I can't breathe
that's
properly from my nose, really bad. So I've got a deviated septum, like a boxer's nose, you know. So I can't breathe. So Jason O'Halloran, the British
same,
superbike
same.
rider,
Mm.
he
He
wears.
uses
You've got the same problem.
yeah, he uses the
He wears a
strips.
black. I mean, if someone's watching this podcast outside the UK, I mean, these British super stock, super sports, super bike riders are so approachable.
Mm.
I was speaking to
Mm.
Storm Stacey with a top hat,
Hmm.
last
Yeah,
week,
yeah,
and Jason O'Halloran, I spoke to him 5 days ago.
yeah,
I messaged him on Facebook saying, "What is the name of the company who do this?" Because I want message me in 5 minutes.
yeah, yeah,
This is a runner up to the British Superbike Championship
yeah,
last year when
yeah,
Taz
yeah,
McKenzie won it.
yeah.
You know, I think if I think I'm right or wrong. I think
Yeah,
he was the
Taz won it.
runner up.
Taz won it last year.
Taz
Yeah,
won it, and Jason might be second. Jason
so
O'Halloran,
he's
the Aussie chap,
McCann's
McCams.
Yamaha, isn't
He's
he?
still with McCams. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So Taz McKenzie is going to World Super Sport, announced this morning, if no
WSB.
one knew. Yeah, no, no. So Taz McKenzie, BSB. So Taylor McKenzie's brother,
Yeah, Taz,
yeah, Neil McKenzie's son.
youngest one. Yeah,
This morning it was announced he is going to World Super Sport with
Worlds.
factory Honda, like a satellite factory Honda thing. World Super Sport. So
Yeah,
you got British Super Sport, the guy you're going to have
yeah, yeah, yeah.
next.
Hmm.
You got World Super Sport as well, and he's going to be racing with that and that was announced this morning.
That's a bit of an unusual. Well, for me, it sounds like an
Yeah,
unusual move, doesn't it? When you go on to superbikes and
it's
let's
it's still in a
can we put
world
a
thing. So
pause
it's
on? Can we put a pause on this one again? Because that's
yeah,
just
yeah,
once I've gone once,
that's
that's
fine.
it. That's
Carry
it.
on.
I just
It's fine. No problem. I'll
okay.
just attend to the my daughter.
Okay, pal. So, yeah, I've enjoyed it tonight. I've
Yeah,
enjoyed our chat.
I
I
know.
mean,
I've
what's that?
my
That's
third.
like
I've had two or three. I can't even remember. But yeah,
and
yeah.
Nobby's nuts and some
And Nobby's nuts
good single malt whiskey.
and Aldi walnuts. I've
Oh,
got no sponsors, but I love Aldi walnuts.
oh, you have now, Abby. Yeah. So
Yeah.
so
Maybe I should ask Spearmint Rhino to sponsor me next year because I kept their women hydrated or dehydrated.
oh my goodness, I don't know. I don't.
And if someone's watching this podcast and you're just joining in now and you had just heard Spearmint
Spearmint
Rhino,
Rhinos.
dehydrated women or hydrated women, you
Yeah,
should watch the whole podcast. You would
yeah,
be surprised.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, and BP fuel garages. So, um, I've had a good laugh. I've enjoyed it. Always having a good laugh with you, Abby.
I've got some stories,
You're
you
always,
know.
you're always good for a laugh. And
I tell you, my ex-boss, which was like a corporate banking director,
yeah,
when I was leaving my corporate role and joining the fraud team, he gave me a book, The Most Interesting Sick Notes Ever. Because I would call in for sick leave
yeah,
and it would be the most interesting one. Like once I rang up for a sick leave in 2009
yeah.
saying my my toothbrush was made of a very glassy plastic. It broke in my mouth and it stabbed my cheek and I've got blood coming out of my mouth and I never came to work for 4 days.
So did that make it into the book?
Uh, it was a book written by someone with the most interesting sick notes.
Yeah.
So that was obviously my invention
You,
of a
you
sick
need
note,
to.
but
You need. To, I think Abby. I think you
I
need to
need to
get your.
write a new book.
You
I
need
need
to get at least get your name in there with that story. I would say.
exactly,
So,
exactly.
yeah, I was just going to say, well, we could wrap this up now, Abby.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's been
I
how
think
how
we
long
could.
have you
I think we could have
we
probably go on for a few more hours, but
you know what?
I've run out of
Absolutely.
beer.
Yeah, and
I've run out.
I've not run out of whiskey, but no. Yeah, I know what you
That's a
mean.
schoolboy error on my part. I do apologise. I
That's all
didn't.
right.
I
That's absolutely okay.
must try harder.
Yeah. But what room are you in your garage or this is a very interesting uh space you're in.
Yeah, yeah,
So is it like I see what I would love
mm,
is going forward is having a garage where I could log from the garage as well with the bikes
yeah,
because that could bring such a breath of fresh air. And I've always thought of that,
yeah.
and so and I think I'm going to try what you're doing is a bit of a green screen effect, which works really well.
How dare you? This is my
Is it?
um.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I've offended.
How dare you? Yeah, no,
Oh yeah,
that's my V4R
it is
Panigale. And
V4R. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it is, yeah. How can you tell if it's a V4R?
The galvanized tank, I
There
think.
you go. There you go. You
Yeah,
know your bikes, don't you?
yeah,
Yeah. And then the Guzzy, Gootsy,
yeah.
Guzzy.
I love the Gutsy.
Yeah,
Love the Gutsy. Yeah.
yeah.
See, the Guzzy and Gutsy thing is very funny because we don't say pizza, we say pizza.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Gutsy. It's the
Gootsy,
same.
Motor
It's the
Gootsy,
same. Yeah, Moto Guzzi. So
Motor
people who
Gootsy.
say Guzzi
Mm,
should think in the UK that you won't call pizza
yeah.
or pizza. It's pizza Guzzi. So
The,
similar.
the
It is
depth
the Z thing.
the depth
It's
in this conversation, Abby, is
it's unreal.
just knows no bounds, honestly.
Unreal.
Let's
Unreal.
wrap it up here, pal.
Yep,
I'm gonna next time I'm down in the Black Country, I'm gonna look you up and
absolutely. Most
uh,
welcome.
yeah, listen to
Well,
that.
you're not far from me from the East Midlands
That is that
your
is that is that is
from
true.
your lab.
That
From your
is
lab.
true.
I'm in the West Midlands.
Yeah,
So
that
it's
is
in the
true. But I
Midlands.
usually go, north
I
south,
can understand.
north
I can
south.
understand.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not
but
far for you, but for me, it's a bit of a
there's missions.
deviation. Yeah,
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 yeah. But let's see what 2023 brings.
I,
Plans
yeah,
are plans are to just have more vlogs,
yeah,
a few short form vlogs as well, to
yeah,
get into the short form game.
Yeah.
you know,
You're going to
and
sell
stuff.
your soul out to the short form game, are you?
I know I've got a TikTok as well now, and I've tagged you guys a few times on my
I know
TikTok.
you have. I know you have. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, and so you guys are on TikTok as well. So yeah,
Mm.
TikTok, Instagram. I'm trying. I'm not doing this sleazy, cheesy, crappy stuff, on Instagram and stuff, or
Yeah.
TikTok. Trying to
Yeah.
bring some quality in. So let's see. I'm going to spend some time.
Mm.
I need some. I need a good garage space where I can vlog without echo. And I need
Mm.
to think a few things. A warm garage. I've got radiators in that garage, luckily, but I
Mm.
need some space. I've got too many bikes and too many paddock stands.
Mm.
I need to organize my garage a bit, and that's what I want to do in winter. Produce some short form content.
Yeah.
Content.
Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, so 2023, what's happening next year?
No racing at all.
Oh,
Because it's just, yeah. It's even though it's
expensive.
endurance, it can get expensive, especially if you
Mm.
crash.
Mm.
What I want to do is just come back 2 steps, read a few books, get some coaching, do
Mm.
some track days
Mm.
with coaching,
Mm.
and then maybe 2024, 2025, think about racing again, and getting a budget together and getting a team together. But it will be endurance racing, because the normal newcomer class, or the normal kind of single class is so competitive. Endurance racing is. I'm a team player. I love people. I'm a
Mm.
people person.
Mm.
I think I work well in a team.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, next year will be just coaching and track days and learning, reverse gear a bit,
Yeah.
which I
Brilliant.
should
Yeah.
have done in
Yeah.
2017, 2018.
Yeah, I do find that sometimes I need to take a step back, take two steps
Yeah,
forward, and I think
absolutely,
that's yeah, I totally get that, honestly. Good.
absolutely.
Abby, it's been fantastic having you on. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
your time this evening.
Not a problem.
It's been a
Pleasure.
pleasure. And how um if people want to check out your YouTube channel, it is
Chasing tenths. Chasing as in chasing.
yeah,
Tenths as in, you know what? Kids from school understand tenths, the word tenths better than
yeah,
a lot of people out there, because kids learn about tenths, two
yeah,
tenths, three
one
tenths.
tenth, yeah, yeah,
Exactly. So
yeah,
tenths as in tenths of a second, TENTHS.
yeah,
I've got a website, chasingtenths.co.uk, but it's
yeah,
mainly,
yeah,
I'm mainly YouTube chasing tenths,
yeah,
and yeah, I'm, mainly doing track day and
mm,
racing vlogs, and trying to get into road reviews, because my road reviews have done really well.
mm,
People really connect with the road reviews. So let's see. A variety of content is going to come in the future, but I'm not going to be a sellout,
mm,
which is a brand sellout,
mhm,
or a
mhm.
company sellout. It's going to be a very
Yeah,
just a
yeah,
people's vlog,
yeah,
not a vlog
yeah,
for a company's sake.
mhm.
Just like this podcast, it's
Yeah.
not been about any company,
It's
including yours or mine.
it's not. I mean, it's just bit of bikes, bit of beer, bit of banter, and that's
Absolutely.
I want to just keep it true to that to that cause as well. Um,
Yeah.
so chasing tenths, and but go and check out Abby on YouTube. This YouTube channel, I should say. I always find his videos really informative, really interesting, and hey, good luck for 2023, Abby.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much, Martin. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you.
Pleasure was mine.
Thank you. Take care. Best of luck.
Cheers. Cheers, buddy.
Take care, everyone.